Alright, so hey everyone, this is Himanshu from Salesforce Makes Sense, and today in this session we'll be covering Community Cloud, or rather Experience Cloud as we know it. Recently the name has changed from Communities or Sites to Digital Experience. This is done by Salesforce, and now it's called Experience Cloud, right? All your certifications come under Experience Cloud, and since I'm already into this domain for the last 5-6 years, I still like to call it community because I've been working with communities more often, and I've still not gotten used to the fact that it's Experience Cloud, right? Cool. Quickly moving on to what we are going to do in this particular session is absolutely entirely community cloud implementation, right? We'll start to understand how to build communities, but before building our own communities, we'll also do something that is take a look at all the prerequisites, right? What are community cloud templates? What are the possible licenses available? What should you opt for? And what does community cloud really mean? How is the architecture behind community cloud, or rather experience cloud setup, right? So we'll delve into that first of all, and once we are comfortable with whatever we need to understand as a prerequisite and things that we need to understand before building our community. So that's where we'll jump into creating our communities from scratch. So first of all, let's understand what Community Cloud is, right? So Salesforce Community Cloud is a platform where users can share and record data, connect and collaborate. Basically, because you are able to collaborate, that's why it's called a community. Well, it's called Experience now, but it was called community earlier, hence a community. And companies can build branded communities of their own. Why branded? Because you get a domain name that specifically represents your business, and you also have color palettes that kind of represent your business, your website, and you also have your logo that you can put into your communities, and you can extend that, or show that to your customers. So that's how you would build branded communities of your own, right? So similar to what communities provide, you can relate this to an example of having Facebook, right? So you say facebook.com, and that opens the Facebook website, and what do you see? You see things in blue and white, right? That kind of resonates with the logo of the Facebook. Similarly, things are the same with Twitter, and whereas for Netflix it is kind of red and black, right? So communities do the same thing. They let you use color palettes, logos, and also a domain name that kind of gives you the idea of branding, and also you have your community to show to users, right? Now the next thing that pops up is, when should you consider using them, right? What are the possible use cases wherein communities would be needed instead of the standard health cloud? Cool. So let's take a look at where would you consider using them. Right? So the first use case could be wherein your business has customers and partners, and they need access to your Salesforce data, right? It could be a very well example of a blood hospital wanting to communicate with a clinical site or a hospital, right? In that case, the blood hospital can be given the community to expose and to use some data. Similarly, let's say you have a business wherein you have a lot of integrations, right, with third-party vendors, and those vendors also need to access your data, not just send you some data, but also need to access data that Salesforce holds. That's when you can create a community or a portal, or rather an experience cloud for these vendors, right? Now, what about having just an online presence, right? It's important that if when you're starting off a business and you have customers, you would definitely want an online presence, a digital presence. In that case, you can just expose your community and make it available for your partners or customers, right? Here we are using two different terms, partners and customers. We'll talk about that very soon. Cool. And let's say you have some external users who need to access Salesforce, but they don't need to access the entire data. They need to access a specific set of data that you hold in Salesforce, right? That's where you provide access to external users through opening up communities for them, or rather Experience Cloud. Cool. For example, a patient would be part of the Salesforce org, right? But the household members, maybe the nurse, or maybe his child, or maybe his wife, they could be potential external users who just need to fetch some information about the patient, but not see everything about the patient or other patients in the system, right? That's where you can expose a community or a site or a portal for them, and have data shown to them in a restrictive manner, so that they see what they need and they do not see what is not available to them and what probably could be sensitive, right? Those are some of the use cases. Let's talk about a bit more of use cases in a very high generic term. I have school alumni cooperation here, third-party integration vendors we already talked about, support portal for customers, right? This could be a knowledge base wherein your call center is set up and they want to take a look at all the articles available and respond to customers' queries accordingly, right? You could have just a community for that. You could have patient healthcare portal for the household members, like I explained already. You could have employee connect and onboarding, like what happens normally when you join a company, right? You are given a portal wherein all the documentation, the FAQs, all the initial videos and everything is present. That's just specifically made available to people who just onboard or who just have joined, right? So when you have such a portal, you would not want to show everything about your company, but you still want bits and pieces of the company to be shown. That's where you use a portal and open up access to the employees as and when they proceed and spend time with the company. Then you could have an e-commerce portal that's specifically for branding and apart from that, connecting your customers with the right products. So you could have e-commerce portal as well, right? Now, how does this setup work? The community cloud is a separate portal altogether. It looks like a website, but it is under Salesforce. And then Salesforce has its own org wherein everything is present. So how is Salesforce working it out, right? Let's try to understand the architecture behind it. So Salesforce, your primary org, wherein you have all your data, your metadata, all the key identifiers, all the processes, all the automation, every security tool, right? That's definitely on Salesforce. That's stored in Salesforce and that's present on Salesforce on your actual org, right? And that is made available or rather shared with the community cloud or experience cloud, right? Be it an alumni portal, be it a patient portal, be it a support portal, the data that is required for the portal to run for their customers or maybe the end users or the partners, right? That is just made available from the main Salesforce org. So data flows from the Salesforce org to the community cloud. Cool. Now it can be one portal, it could be many portals, which goes to say that you can have multiple clouds created, multiple sites created for your customers, and you could have data shown differently for different profiles. So you can do that, but your entire data would be stored on Salesforce. It won't be stored on the community cloud. Your backend, your actual implementation is the core Salesforce. It's not in the community side. It's just being used as a tool, right? Licenses and communities, right? So we normally use the Salesforce license to expose every kind of permission that we have on the Salesforce org for profiles. We also have the standard platform, Salesforce platform license, right? Which has some limitations, but is also a good license available for end users. Then you have other licenses like Chatter Free, Work.com only user, and many other licenses. But for communities, or rather for Experience Cloud, you have specific license sets that you'll have to purchase, that your customers have to purchase, right? Let's take a look at what are the licenses available and what is the kind of access they provide us. So Salesforce has its own Salesforce licenses, right? There are platform licenses and there are many more options also, right? You have feature licenses, permission set licenses, and the core licenses. But for Community Cloud, you have the customer licenses available and you have the partner licenses, which brings me to the customer versus partner definition, right? So customer and partner are held as two different entities, right? Why two different entities? Now, for example, you are a business wherein you want to support your customers, and those customers need access to some sort of data. So you'd be creating a community for them. And what kind of licenses would you be purchasing? Probably the customer community licenses, the customer licenses, right? Now, on the other hand, you are a business and you are also tied up with 10 different integrations. 10 different vendors, right? And when there are 10 different vendors and they want to collaborate with the customers and also share data with your business, that's where you would have to enroll partners into the system. And when these partners come into the system, they are given a community of their own wherein they purchase the partner community license, right? That's basically the understanding provided by Salesforce to distinguish customer and partners, and the licenses that are available vary in terms of the access that's available, and hence the pricing is also different. Make sense? Cool. So there's nothing hard and fast. The licenses can be clubbed. You can have both licenses working hand in hand. You can have one license working on top of another. You can have one license for a specific site, the other one for another site. All can go hand in hand and can be clubbed and worked with collectively. There's no hard and fast rule. It's just a setup or just a basic briefing that Salesforce has provided, and based on that, the nomenclature has been set up, right? Now let's see the different licenses available and what specific features do they provide and what are the options in terms of pricing, right? So the first one is the customer community license, which is the cheapest available option, right? It allows you the basic access of objects and features. Roles are not available here, which means you cannot apply sharing sets and sharing rules. Cool. You have standard baseline objects and then chatter, knowledge, tasks. These objects are also available here. On top of that, cherry on the cake, customer community plus licenses are available. So if your customer is not happy with this and maybe they have an implementation that needs more than this, maybe they need to implement roles, maybe they need access to some other objects like leads, opportunities, they would want to come to a different license set. And that's wherein you have customer community plus, right? As you see plus, you can easily guess that it is costlier than the customer community license. And whatever customer community provides, alongside that you also have sharing and you also have reports and dashboards. Cool. Moving on to the next license, which is the partner community license, and this is costlier than the customer licenses. All right. So your partner licenses are comparatively costlier than the customer licenses. Cool. So you have everything that comes up with the customer community plus license, and alongside that you also get access to premium standard objects like leads and opportunities. So if you are a business wherein you want your external users to be able to access leads and opportunities, you cannot go for a customer community license. You have to go for a partner community license, right? Coming to a different way of looking at licenses, like we already saw, right? We have customer licenses, which are a cheaper option, and then you have partner community, which is a costlier option. Now there are different variations on these licenses also. So you have something that's called named user licenses and login based licenses. Now for example, your partner logs in once every month and does not log in at all. Maybe he just has a task to just come on the first day of the month, pull out a report and just leave, right? Or maybe you have someone who's working day in and day out and setting up data in the community cloud, and they are logging in on a daily basis very frequently, right? So based on the kind of logins that happen, you can also bifurcate and choose a license for your customer type or your end user type, right? So if your users have a probability of logging in frequently, which means they are logging in very frequent and doing stuff a lot in Salesforce, you should probably go for named user licenses, right? And if they log in very rarely or occasionally, not frequently, you can definitely opt for login based licenses. What happens with login based licenses? Based on the number of logins done, the pricing is made, and these login based licenses are comparatively cheaper, right? So for example, someone coming in for 30 days in a row would definitely be using more of Salesforce, right? Whereas someone coming just for 2 days a week is not using those many licenses or those many resources that Salesforce is providing. So what Salesforce has provided here with in terms of licensing is you can opt for login based licenses, and this would come in cheaper compared to the named user licenses. All right, and which is why you would see customer community plus login license available, partner community login license available, customer community login license available. So the keyword login is in the license name, and those licenses are comparatively cheaper, but they come with a restriction or a threshold limit that you have to log in only these many times in a month or in a week, whatever the setting is. Cool. We'll take a look at these licenses very soon as we jump into the Salesforce org. You'll see all of this. Cool. All right, so that brings us to a point wherein yes, we can get started and we can set up a community of our own, right? Those were the prerequisites I wanted to explain, and I wanted to ensure that you know beforehand, because these are important things that you should understand. It's not just about building a community, which is pretty much a straightforward thing. It's simple drag and drop, no code automation, right? So that's something that we can do easily, and the important part is understanding the roots, understanding the architecture, understanding the type of licenses available, so that we can advise our clients, our customers in a way that it helps them, right? So coming to setting up a community, what happens with community is you have a lot of templates. Now, if you're someone who has done a lot of web development, or maybe just some web development in their college life, or maybe is doing that now, you might have noticed that whenever you host or launch a website, you have to set up a theme, right? You have to probably pick up a theme. A theme can be anything, like you could have a simple portal theme, you could have a community theme, you could have a reading theme, a magazine theme. So based on your requirement or how your end customers would be, you have different themes available to choose. It can be free or paid, and then you work on top of that theme and create your website on top of that, right? Similarly, on the Salesforce Experience Cloud or Community Cloud, you have templates available to choose from. You don't have to build everything from scratch, but yes, you can with one specific template that's mentioned here. But yes, you can pick any template. There's no hard and fast rule. Again, based on what Salesforce understands could be very helpful to you. You get a list of templates that's available here, and out of this you can choose, right? So let's take a look at the options available to create an experience cloud and using a template. We have the customer account template, you have the partner central template, customer service, help center, Aloha, visual force and tabs, and then you have your build your own template, right? So this build your own template is basically everything given to you in hand and you can start from scratch, right? On the other hand, for example, customer service and help center looks like more of a service cloud implementation, right? When you would have a support center working and partners have to pick up calls and they have to take a look at the customer cases and assign cases to someone else or resolve them. And then you have something that's partner central and customer account, wherein you work on your key customers and you try to resolve their issues and you try to set up meetings, set up appointments and all of that. Cool. So let's briefly take a look at what these templates are, and then we'll jump into setting up our community. So under the template types, right? So we have customer account portal, which is a private and secure place for customers to access and update their account information, right? It improves customer relationships and decreases the service costs by letting customers work in the portal. Customers can see and pay invoices, update their account information, and search your knowledge base for answers to their most frequent questions. That's the customer account portal. The next one is the partner central, which is a responsive template, and it is designed specifically for channel sales, right? So you recruit people, you build and you grow your partner network, and you drive your sales and marketing in a branded online space. It has lead distribution, deal registration, and marketing campaign related functions available that you can use. And also you have training materials that can be shared, and everything can be, in a single central space. You can use reports to track your pipeline. That's the partner central framework or the template. Then you have the customer service template, which has multiple pre-built theme options, and you can let users post questions to the community, take a look at articles, contact any agents who's available by creating cases, and you can take a look at chatter questions and cases and the status of the cases. That's the customer service, as the name represents, right? The fourth one is Help Center. This is a public access self-service community that exposes the articles, probably the FAQs. This reduces the load on the customer support team, and the users get the satisfaction of finding their own solutions. So normally now, these days, what you would have seen is that, a direct chat support or your direct call support is not available. There are a lot of articles that are available. You probably have to take a look at them. And if you find your resolution there, you don't have to talk to a person. That reduces the load on the customer support team, right? And that makes you self-sufficient. So that's the kind of Help Center community template that it is. The next one is Build Your Own, which is in Aura, the Aura Lightning framework. It provides basic pages that every experience builder site needs. You can have the create record, record detail, record list, related record list, search, check password, forgot password, login, logout, login error, and register. So all of these are basic pages that every website holds, right? So if you want to take a look at any object data, you just have to set the object, you'll have to create a create record component. You would have to add the record detail component, and you can also take a look at the record list, right? If you want to set up authentication for your users, you can have login, logouts, register, forgot password, and all those pages are also available here. So these are basic components or basic pages available. You can add on top of that, you can create more components based on the requirement that you have for your customers, and you can also customize the branding, right? The color combination, the logos, the font size, the font weight, the font style, everything can be customized so that the branding is similar to what the client wants or what their company represents. Similar option is also available in the Lightning Web Runtime, that is the LWR platform, the newer platform, and this is basically again build your own LWR. And this template delivers unparalleled page performance and improves developer productivity. This has pixel perfect pages, and you develop Lightning Web components instead of the Aura components, and you can create and use themes that match your unique brand. This is suitable for developers and partners and ISVs who are familiar with developing LWC components, right? Who have worked with Apex a lot, who have experience in Salesforce DX and also the user interface API. So instead of working on Aura, you can definitely take a look at LWC related platform, which is the Web Runtime, and you can build components which definitely would be faster, would be more efficient, and would be more responsive and would improve performance. But the caveat here is you have to be someone who knows how to write custom web components, and you also should have a fair bit of idea with SFDX and Apex, right? Then you have Aloha. That's a configurable app launcher template that lets users quickly find applications and access them using a single sign-on, SSO authentication including social logins, right? So Aloha sounds like something from a Harry Potter movie, but it's another template in Experience Cloud. The last one is Salesforce tabs and Visualforce. Standard Salesforce structure and tabs that you can customize using Visualforce. So this is your tacky, conventional, traditional Salesforce classic view, right? You have Visualforce pages and you have tabs available for all your objects, and you have availability to access, and flexible configuration is available. It supports most of the standard objects, custom objects, and also the Salesforce mobile app. And Salesforce tabs and Visualforce, like it says, it's Visualforce, right? So it's not definitely a Lightning based template, and it does not work with the Experience Builder. Experience Builder is specifically for Aura components and Lightning Web components. So this tabs and Visualforce won't work with the Experience Builder, but you still get a lot of support, and you can set up things if you know Visualforce, and you would have tabs for most of your objects. Cool. So that's the template type. Now we'll jump on to setting up our community, wherein there are some key steps involved. Whenever you have a fresh org, or whenever you have an org wherein you don't have communities or experience set up, you have to first enable your digital experience, right? So let's now jump into our Salesforce org. So I have created a brand new org. You can do that too. And on that note, I would also like to recommend you guys setting up your own developer edition org and doing this with me. What that would do is, me doing everything here using my clicks, typing everything would definitely help, but you doing it with me would ensure that you are pointing, clicking, dragging and dropping at the right things at the right place, and that would give you the confidence to set up communities, right? Cool. So first things first, I wanted to show you the license types, right? So if I go to company information, and if we take a look at the licenses available, down below we have our standard Salesforce license, the platform license, right? But take a look at the named user licenses and the login based licenses. What do you notice here? So we see customer community license, but with a login keyword. This means this is a login based license, right? Then you have customer community plus, right? And similarly, you would have partner community login licenses are also available. All right. Cool. So that was about licenses, and let's now jump into setting up our community. Cool. So what's the first thing that we need to do? The first thing is we need to enable digital experiences. So to be able to do that, we'll simply type in digital experience. Remember, this was communities back then, but now it is experiences. So everything that was community has been modified and renamed by experiences. So if you simply type in experience, you should get the digital experience option under the feature settings. Cool. And let's go to settings. The first thing we'll have to do is enable, right? So you can build pixel perfect websites, portals and communities with Experience Cloud. And to get started, you must first enable it and select a domain. If enhanced domains are enabled, your org's my domain name is the subdomain for any site you create, right? So if you notice, every time we now create an org, or rather whenever we have created an org, there comes the name of the company that we have provided, right? Whatever this name is, it's not some random URL. So that adds on to the branding, right? When you have to open Instagram, you type in instagram.com, right? Whenever you have to open YouTube, you type in youtube.com, right? If you have to open my blog, you can type salesforcemakes.com. Similarly, you have branding available in terms of the URL that you get, and that's basically the company name that you have provided based on what Salesforce understands based on your sign up information, right? Similarly, for your digital experience, whenever you want to enable your Experience Cloud, you're essentially building a website or a portal or a community, right? So it's important that you get your own branding on the URL for your community. So as soon as you enable it, you would be prompted to give a domain name for your experience. So let's click on the enable, and as we click on this checkbox, we see that you select a domain name. All right. So the domain name is used in all of your digital experiences, and it cannot be changed after you save it. Now, if you notice, this is your domain name, a sample domain name, and then whatever you want to add in terms of your Experience Cloud. Let's say you want to add a prefix that would say my partner community, my developer community, my customer community, that would come here. Cool. So that would give you your branding available on the top level, and then you can have subdomains here. Cool. Once I have clicked on the enable button here, I'll click on save. And this says that, once you have enabled it, you cannot go back, right? That's the prompt it is saying, that you cannot change your domain name or disable it. So I'll just quickly say, okay, and now once it has saved, it says that, because of your browser settings, we need to open it on a new tab. So I'll just say open. And now my Experience Cloud setting should open up on the new tab. And that opens up the all sites option. And now if I type in experience, let's see what do I get. I see, instead of that settings option, I see all sites, pages, settings, templates, and themes, right? And now I can create as many sites as I want, but what is the maximum number of published and unpublished sites altogether? It's 100. Cool. So we can click on this new button and we can create a site for ourselves. So that was the very first part, enabling digital experiences, right? The next part is registering a domain. Let's take a look at how to register domains. Before jumping into the template, let's go back to setup and let's see. Under sites, we have something that's called domains, right? Let's take a look at what is here on the domains. So if you notice, all the available domains are activated, and this is what we are currently using. And if you notice, by default, Salesforce has already set up my domain, right? And for Salesforce sites, you have a specific domain, and for community, you have a domain. And the status is completed, and this is already activated. We cannot delete it, right? So you see, your branding name is here, and then followed by your Salesforce-sites. This is my.site, and this is my.salesforce.com. Right? Similarly, if you go to experiences and you go to settings, you should now see that you have your sample domain name available, which is the same name that you provided. You can turn on your beta features that Salesforce is currently working on, used for the LWR or Lightning Web Runtime framework. And then down below you have options to set up or remove things, right? Based on the role and user, some moderation rule settings, account relationships, new user email, all of the settings can be configured on the top level for all of the communities that you want to set up, right? These are the general settings. Cool. So once you have your domain set up, which is gmail.com experience in my case, this is already set up, I can go ahead and create a site. And once I create a site, let's say my site name is site ABC. My site would be pointed to the URL .com gmail.com experience.dev@mysite.com/mysiteabc. That would be the URL for my site, right? Let's click on the save button here, and now let's go ahead and create a community. Let's see what's the next step. Our next step is creating our first site, and then we'll take a look at the overview. So let's create our first site. To create a site, we can simply go to all sites, or we can even type sites here. This should open up. Right now we do not have any sites available. What we would be doing is we'll click on the new button, and this new button click would take us to the template selection screen, right? The templates that we talked about, right? The build your own, and then the customer service, customer account portal, help center, build your own in Aura, partner center, or Aloha, right? All of these options are available here, tabs and Visualforce. You see, this is more of the classic experience. So here I can choose any option, and let me just go ahead and choose something that's customer service maybe. Once you're satisfied with the theme, you don't have to worry about what the theme provides, what the template provides. You can always customize it based on your requirements. You can remove everything that's available, add on everything that you need. As simple as that, right? But based on a theme, let's say I want to go for some sort of service. I'm choosing the customer service template, and this says that you can create a responsive site wherein people can post questions, access the records, see articles, collaborate, and create some support cases. Right? So these are all the features that this particular template provides. I'll just say get started, right? And see, as soon as I say get started, it tells me what is the name that you want to put. So you see the URL, the base URL with my domain name is coming up here, and I can put an optional keyword here, right? So I'll say hospital portal, all right, and I'll just tag in hospital here. Cool. And let's say create. So this is now setting up my first site, and this takes some time, but like it says, this could take a few minutes, but it's worth the wait. Once this opens up, what we'll do is we'll take a look at what all features are available on the experience builder, and what all are the general overview available that we can take a look at, all the customization that can be done, and everything that Experience Cloud provides for creating communities, right? That's what we'll look at next. I'll let this load. Alright, so the site was created, and this is what opens up, right? So here I know there's a lot of information on the screen, but we'll dig it deep and we'll take everything one by one, right? So the first thing that you notice is this is the name of my community or the name of my experience cloud, and it says it's in preview mode and it is not published yet. So every time you have a community, you can work on it on kind of a draft mode, and you can activate or publish it later for making it live to your customers, right? So now here you have a lot of workspaces available that you can use to configure your entire community. The first thing is the experience builder. This is what will let you completely customize and modify your template, or rather the community itself. Then you have moderation, wherein you can create some rules around who can post what words to avoid. If this is a phrase that comes up, put it in approval, put it in spam. All of those particular moderations are available for chatter related work, right? User collaboration. Then you have something that's called content management. This is part of CMS Connect. CMS Content Management System. Here you can manage your entire collection. So this is basically nothing but your resources, your documentations, your external documentation that are available in external vendor sites. You might have things stored in Heroku. You might have things stored in Oracle, and you'd want those to be exposed to your community. You can even do that through content management, right? Then you have gamification, which is nothing but a fancy way to ensure people are engaged and log in frequently to the community cloud. There are some recognition badges, people who post a lot of answers, people who like a lot of stuff, they get badges and they can showcase that on Chatter, right? Then you have dashboards, wherein you can take a look at all the reports, the key metrics and the identifiers, and help people take a visual look at on data, not just tabular records, but tabular information, simple row column Excel spreadsheets, but rather dashboards, right? Visual charts. And then you have administration. This is basically remember how we looked at the general settings for all the communities. The administration is specifically the general settings, or rather the settings for one specific community, right? That you're using right now. And then you have the guided setup that lets you, as a beginner, set up things with step-by-step instructions. Now, as far as I understand and as far as I've seen community implementations, the builder and the administration are two important things that you need to master, and you should be able to set up communities in a click, right? So if you also want to engage features that are not available with Salesforce experiences out of the box, you can also take a look at the app exchange packages, right? You can take a look at some options that provide you some metrics, so you can take a look at that, and that's why this promotional blue section is coming on top. And then you have some quick links available here. I rarely go through those, but yeah, you have the summer 22 release notes coming in. We can take a look at the release notes and what has changed and what can be added now. Same is here under the what's new section. You can take a look at if you are using a LWR site template, you can add flows, which is amazing, right? And you can have too many request related, page related changes that you see. And then you have a UI update on the experience builder UI. So probably something has changed here for the LWR, right? And then down below, you have something called the help and training section. You have documentations for everything, right? So you can take a look at the documentation, and you can come back here and start working on creating your community from scratch. Cool. So this is the page that comes up. Here on top, you have something that's the name of the user who's logged in. You can definitely log out and log in again, and this is your personal settings, your normal org settings that you have here as well, similar to what you see here, right? The settings, same thing. And then you have something that's called workspaces. So from here, you have shortcuts available. You can move from builder to administration, from administration to content management. You can do that here. All right. And since this is the community builder, you can always go back to the Salesforce setup from here. You can go to the digital experiences page from here. You can also take a look at the website that you've created, or rather the portal that you've created. Cool. So all the short links are available here. The first thing that we'll take a look at is the administration. All right. So let's click on administration. And once we click on the administration, always remember this particular section is the settings for this particular hospital portal that we've created, right? And these settings will vary for community to community, and you can configure them for each community. Now we'll take a look at all these options available here, and what do they do? The first thing says settings. This says that your current status is preview, and you can activate it. Your current template is customer service, and you can change it, right? So whenever a site is activated, new members receive a welcome email message. If you don't want new members to receive the email, deselect the send welcome email checkbox in emails. Cool. So when it says send welcome email checkbox in emails is nothing but this section right here. You would probably have a send welcome email checkbox available, and you can uncheck it if you don't want to send a welcome email. Cool. So that's your settings. Next is preferences. You can take a look at preferences, and here a lot of options are, checkbox and checkbox checked, unchecked options are available to monitor permissions. For example, do we want to show nicknames of people? Well, yes, that's why it is checked. You can enable direct messages. If you want users to see other members, so you can enable the let guest users see other members in the site. You can do that. You can have a profile based layout. You can gather insights from customers by taking a consent or a permission from them. You can use visual force error messages. If you want to do that, you can say check. Show all settings in workspaces is something that you can take a look at, and you can say check. Similarly, on the experience management, if you want people to collaborate and connect better, based on that you can set up these things, like you have reputation level setup, knowledgeable people setup, upvote and downvote options, flag content options, and all of this, right? Then down below you have record ownership. Who would be the default record owner whenever a record is created from community, right? If there's no owner defined. So you have something called guest users here, and guest users do not get to be owners of a record. So whenever guest users create a record, the default owner would be Himanshu. That is basically the admin right now, right? So the default owner will also have access to all the new records that the guest users create. Cool. So guest users are nothing but people who do not have an authentication set up with the community cloud. So they log in like they're logging in as a guest on a website, right? So if they set up anything, if they create any records, those records would come under the ownership of Himanshu, the default. You can change this to some other user also. Cool. And then you can define the maximum file size people can upload, and specific types of extensions. Maybe you just want PDF, JPG, and PNG. You can put that here in comma separated values. And then you have maximum file size in MB. You can deliberately set up a maximum file size, and that would ensure that people do not upload huge files, and that does not slow down your system, right? So that's your preferences section. So once you are done with all of that, you can click on the save button, and this should save your preferences for this particular community, right? The next section that comes up is the member section, and this is a crucial section because this kind of defines who would be the people or who would be the members associated to this particular community or experience cloud, right? So under members, you have profiles, you have permission sets, and you have site roles, right? So the first thing is you can add in profiles. Basically that means what kind of users under which profile should be available or should be allowed access to the particular community. So right now the system administrator is enabled because he's the don of the area, so he can get into anywhere he wants. Similarly, you might want to add, let's say, this is all internal profiles. You can go to all profiles and you can take a look at every profile available, right? So I can pick these, I can pick all of these: customer, community, login, plus login user, plus user, and then you would have something for the partner also, right? So partner login and partner community, and say add. So this would be added, right? So now if you create a user who's of any of these profiles, they would get access to this particular community, and they should be able to log into the community with a username and password combination. Cool. So these are all standard profiles available in Salesforce. We'll take a look at that in right after this section. So we can add the profiles here, and only those profiles. So for example, tomorrow if someone from a read-only user profile comes in and tries to access the community, they won't be able to do that. They won't be allowed because they are not enabled as members of the community. Make sense? Cool. Similarly, you have permission set options, like which permission sets should be there, and if a particular user has access to it, only then they should be allowed. So you can have the permission set created, and then you can have it enabled by selecting it on the right side of the box. And then you have the site role option, and it says want to use custom labels instead of employee, customer, or partner. Select custom to replace the standard label. So by default, like Salesforce understands, you can either be a customer or a partner, or you can be an internal employee, right? So if you want to keep using this nomenclature, you can go ahead with the default setting. But let's say you have some other names for your partners. Maybe you call them vendors. Maybe your customers are your gods. So you can rename that. Maybe your employees are a blessing in disguise. So you can change those names, and you can go for custom and give a custom name. So everywhere the keyword partner is supposed to come, the keyword that you have provided would show up, right? So that's when you can use custom. Normally you would want to typically stay with this nomenclature because normally businesses have either customers or partners, so that comes in handy. You mostly don't have to change it, right? So this is the setting that's available under the member section, and once you are good with the section, you can go ahead and save it. Right, next thing is contributors. So under contributors is basically people who are working for this particular portal and setting up things. So you can add contributors, or you can remove, or you could just leave this as is, right? So when you want to add contributors, you can create a team of yourself for yourself. Like you could have a UI expert, you could have a backend expert, you could have a builder expert, you could have an administrator. So you can create a team and assign roles to control what your team builds, right? So you can customize your contributors, and only those people who are part of this team would be able to change things, right? The system admin can do anything. So I'm logged in as a system admin, so I'm able to see things. But if you have a team that's configured, only those people will be able to set up things, and based on the roles that they have been assigned, they will be doing things and customizing things on the site, right? So that's not that important, but yeah, just wanted to showcase. The next thing is login and registration, a crucial part. So login and registration has a lot of stuff here. Let's take a look at the branding options first. So like I told, right, the community cloud or the experience cloud brings in branding, because you will be able to choose a logo for yourself. You can put up a logo, and this logo would show up everywhere. There's a logo that's supposed to come up. You can have a background type, you can have a specific background color. This would go with your color template, right? Then you can have a footer text that would be your copyright or reserved text, right? Coming to the login page setup, you have different options available here. You can either use an experience builder page, you can use a Visualforce page, you can use the default page that Salesforce provides. So based on your expertise, let's say you can build some component that looks very cool, and that has a good color combination that goes with your entire brand of the customer. You can use an experience builder page, and you can choose that component, and you can set that up, right? If you want to go with something that's already configured by the default pages that Salesforce has, you can go with the default page, right? There's one checkbox that's available here. It says that allow employees to log in directly to an Experience Cloud site. So who are these employees? These are the internal users, right? And if you want these people to get access the cloud site, you can check this box, and they will be able to log in directly without a separate set of username and credentials, or maybe not getting authenticated. They can just use the single sign-on option, and they can log in as employee into the site. Even that's available, right? So what about the logout page URL? Let's say you want a fancy page wherein you thank your customer to coming to your website and visit soon again later. You can have that page created, and you can put the URL here, right? Or else you'd simply be redirected to the Salesforce login site. Cool. Then you have password pages. If you want to set up a customized forgot password, you can do that here. And if you want to use the default option, you have the default page. Same is for reset password also. All right. And then down below, you have something that's called registration page configuration. Now here it says that, do you want your customers and partners to self-register? Now what does this mean? This means, let's say you are a school headmaster, or rather the school administrator, right? So any student that enrolls would have to come to you and get enrolled, correct? But let's say you are a college clerk, or maybe a college POC for all your new candidates who are joining different courses. You would probably want all these candidates to self-enroll, and maybe just fill up a form online, and then they can just sign up. So in that case, you would want these people to self-register. So similar concept is available here, which is allow customers and partners to self-register. So instead of the admin doing everything for them, they can also register into the Salesforce portal. And once they register, they will be getting an email to set up their password. And once they have the username and password, they can go ahead and log into the Salesforce portal for which they have registered, right? So here, if you enable this checkbox, you get to choose a registration page. Like similar to how you have a login logout page, you also get to choose a registration page. And now that you have a user created, right? Essentially, whenever someone registers, they are registered as a user. So you would probably want to assign a profile to them, right? Currently, it does not show anything because there are no members and no profiles created. But you would want to set up a profile for this particular kind of user who self-registers. Okay, and since these users are customer users or partner users, they can need a parent account, right? So you'd have to set up an account, and you can take a look at the account, and you can set these users up under a specific account. Let's say if your school is your college is ABC University, you can create an account under ABC University candidates, and all these users would be configured under this account. Why these users will be under an account, we'll talk about it in our next section. Alright, but there's an exception. If you have person accounts enabled, you can leave the account field empty, so it won't have to be under an account field. It would automatically be created as a person account record, right? Because you would have person account enabled, so accounts and contacts go hand in hand there, so you don't have to worry about that. Cool. Once you're good with all your login registration setup, you can click on the save button. Next is the email section, wherein you set up all the template related stuff that goes out and comes in, right? So whenever an email goes out, what should be the from name? You can change it. What should be the email address that comes, on behalf of Salesforce makes sense @gmail.com. You can change that email. You can have some branding added. You can have a footer added. You can configure email templates, whether if you want to send welcome email. See, this is the checkbox that was there under this preferences and settings option, right? That whether you want to send a welcome email. So every time a person registers, they'll get a welcome email that, hey, thank you for joining up in the hospital portal. Here are your credentials to log in. Set up your password now, right? Similarly, you would have templates for forgot password, change password, and all of these options here. Cool. So if you want to create a template that goes more with the color and the template and the branding of your company, you can anytime go and select a template. You can create a template and then you can choose it from here. The next thing is the pages section, wherein you have the home page set as the default page. If you want to have a entirely different page created altogether with a set of components that you are building, you can go with the experience builder page and you can choose that page. On the other hand, if you have a Visualforce page instead of a Aura or a LWC page, you can also choose the Visualforce page as your home page. So this defines whenever a user logs in, what is the first page that they see. So this would be the default page that they see. Make sense? Cool. And then down below you have advanced customizations available. You can take a look at the force.com platform, and you can take a look at the site.com studio, right? If you want to see an interface with the drag and drop features, or if you want to, set up things for the guest users, you can do it from this advanced customization section. Rich publisher apps is basically any application that you want as an add-on that Salesforce does not provide out of the box, or maybe you have created your own and you want to import that, you can do that here, right? So these are essentially add-ons or plugins that you can add with your community, similar to how you have on websites, right? So let's say you want to manage an inventory, you'd probably install an inventory management plugin. Let's say you want to have a payment gateway, you would install a payment gateway plugin or set it up, right? So that's the kind of thing you would have here. And then lastly, URL redirects. There's nothing available here, but let's say you have issues with your let's say you're moving on from one domain to another. You'd want your users to move from domain, right? So let's say if today I logged into facebook.com, I should automatically be redirected to meta.com, right? So those kind of redirects have to be set up and they have to be imported here. Cool. And once they're imported, you can configure them. Cool. So this is all about the administration section. I hope it's pretty much clear. For example, if I have to activate my community, I would come to the settings page. If I have to add a profile so that they can access my community, I would have to come here. If I have to change my registration page or the logout page, I would have to come here, right? If I have to modify the template of how the forgot password email is going, I would probably have to come here. Cool. So those are the settings on the administration section. Once you are done with all those settings, you can always go to the builder and you can create your website or the portal or the community or the experience cloud. All right. So this is the first time I'm coming to the experience builder because I clicked on the builder icon and I reached this builder section, and this is how the experience builder looks like. Before jumping into the experience builder, let's take a look at our keynote and understand what's next. So this is I think I would want to show you the experience builder also, and then we'll probably jump into the community user creation. Cool, no problem. So let's come back and let's understand the experience builder overview. So this is where you would actually do all your website development, your portal development, your community setup. So the permission side of the world is set up. You have the administration setup. Now, how things would look like, who would see what kind of colors would come in, and how would things look like on the home page, what components do I want to add, everything will be customized and created on this particular experience builder. So if you notice, this is the experience builder, and this builder supports Aura components and Lightning Web Runtime components, right? If you would have chosen the tabs and Visualforce option, you would not have gotten the experience builder available because that's not available to set up. So you would have to set it up using the classic conventional ways. But if you are on Lightning and you've chosen a Lightning template, you would have to you'd get the experience builder, and it will help you brand your site, create and customize pages, drag and drop components, and also deliver personalized experiences to different audiences. We'll do all of this very soon. I'll just get rid of this particular blob and I will explain you everything here. Again, a lot of information on the screen, but we'll break it down one by one and understand it. Cool. On the experience builder, on top you have this icon that again is a short link that's available for you to go to any other position location, right? The Salesforce setup or the administration or any other place that you want to be. This section opens up all the pages that are available. So if you notice, I did not create these pages, right? So these are all available out of the box. And if you anytime want to create a page on your own, which we will soon, we'll create a new page from here. Cool. But we have a lot of pages available by default. So for example, let me type record. So I see the create record page is available, the record detail and the record list and the related record list are generic pages that are available, right? If I want to take a look at the home page, which is currently open, this is the home page and this is how it would look like. This is the default page that would open up, right? Then you have the gear icon available. If I take a look at the settings, this basically is nothing but all the properties for this particular page. So if you notice, this is the name of the page, this would be the URL, this is the API name, and whether the page is public to everyone, does it require a login, or what is the, do you want to use the default site setting, which means requires login, right? So you can set the page access accordingly. If you make any page public access, the guest users can take a look at those public pages easily, right? So the public option is fair for guest users. And then you have SEO related settings so that your website or your community comes on top on, you know, Google pages and ranking websites. So you can define a title, a description, and you can also edit the head tag. So all of this is available, similar to how you do a website development, right? All pages can be configured. And then you have something called page variations, which we'll take a look at very soon. Cool. So that's your page setting. And then if you want to refresh your entire page, you can click on this refresh icon. Then here you have the standard undo redo buttons. If you want to take a look at your page in a mobile view or a tablet view, you can do that also, right? So if I turn on the mobile view, this is how it would look like, right? So you can take a look at how the responsiveness behaves whenever you build components, add them, and you want to check whether it is compatible for different UIs or UI or, you know, different screens. Then you have an option to, you know, help take training, help and support from Salesforce. If there's something that's not working as expected, if there's something that you think is wrong with Salesforce, if there's something that's not happening the way it's supposed to be, you can always go and go for the help and training and create a case with Salesforce, right? And once you're comfortable with everything, you can click on the publish button and this would publish the community for the very first time. Cool. And if you want to take a look at how things look like, currently it's all editable, right? They are all, when I hover over them, they are all editable things. But if I want to take a look at how things look like really, I can click on the preview button and this is how it would look like, right? And I can go back to builder to make the changes again. All right. Now on the extreme left side, you have some options which basically sum up your entire builder experience. The first thing is the components. And as you can notice, it is a lightning icon. So there are standard components available, a lot of them. And if you want to create some custom components, you can even do that. And you can create some custom components and you can have them available here. Or you can also download components from the App Exchange also. So everything is available. So for example, I want to, let's say, I want to show up a list view, or rather a record related list or the record list. I can pop in the record list component and drop it here. Let's say if I want to take up the notes, or maybe let's say documents, is there anything with documents? There's the quip article document related list. I can add that. If I want to, let's say, show some analytics, I can have the CRM analytics dashboard. Or let's say I want to show recent items, let's say, right? So recommendations are here, and I think recent items would come up once I enable knowledge articles. So that's not available right now, but yeah, all of this is available and you can play around with this, drag and drop them, and you can see them coming on screen and you can configure them. Cool. Oh, you already have the featured topics and you have the ask button, right? So you see recommendations, carousel, leaderboard, and then trending topics are available. You have the button section available that you can configure. So this is all the components that you can configure, and if you're not comfortable with anything, you can also change them, right? So that's your first component section. Then you have something on the theme. This is again important. You can change the theme anytime you want. You can go from customer service to partner central, from partner central to Aloha, you can do that. And then you have colors. Like I said, you get a lot of branding options available, right? So you can configure the colors based on how your brand looks like, how your brand color template is, how your color palette goes for the brand, right? So you can configure the colors accordingly. You can take a look at how the navigation would look like, how the login pages should have the colors, right? And you can also generate palette from image. So you have a logo, right? Let's say that logo has orange, yellow and red colors as the core 3 colors. So you can generate a palette out of it, and Salesforce can suggest you what color should go with which particular item. So that's your colors option. Same is with images and fonts. So you can have your company logo here. You can have an header image here. So if you notice, see, this section is completely gray, or this section is completely empty, right? You would have a header logo available. Let me just close this. So this empty space here is where your logo would come up, right? So if you were to put a company logo, that's where it would come up, and then you can have a header image that would replace this gray background. And for login pages, if you want to have a different background color or an image, you can even put that up here. By default, if you notice, this is how the image looks like, and when we try logging in, you will confirm that, you'll certify that, yeah, this is how it is. It is because this setting is set up here. So you can come back here and you can change the login page. Cool. That was about images. And then you have something on the font. So you can always choose any font that's available. A lot of options are available. I won't say it's the entire world, but yeah, sufficient enough to make a choice, right? So under general, you have all these options, and you can always take a look at the text case, whether you want it uppercase, unformatted, whatever option that you want to choose, you can do that. If you notice, everything is capitalized here. Why is that? Because text case is uppercase here, right? That's why. Let's take a look at the page structure. Now, if you notice that your entire page, this is your entire page, right? How is this built up? You have a template header top. You have a menu bar section, which has a search icon, and then you have a button option. And then you have the navigation menu, and then you have the template header bottom, and so on and so forth until the template footer. Why is this set up the way it is? This is because this is your template header. This is your page structure, and you can configure this to some extent. For example, your template header, top header, your footers, these things will remain constant, but you can always get rid of the sidebar if you don't want it. You can get rid of the content. Whatever components are added by you or are not needed, you can remove them by clicking on the delete button, right? You can also hover over them and you see the delete icon available. So for example, the headline component, see, when I click on the headline component, it is highlighted and it shows me what it has. But if I want to get rid of it, I can click here and get rid of this component by saying delete. Cool. Similarly, the ask question button, I can click here on the delete button, or let's say if I click here, it opens up the settings, but I can close it and I can say delete from here also. Same thing, delete, right? So I can do that. And let's take a look at maybe the contact support and ask button. So if you notice, this is a section. I can even click here and come to the screen. This right side pop-up that comes up is basically the configuration that you can do for that particular component, right? So let me close this page structure now, and if I click on this section, I can say don't see what you're looking for, try clicking one of the buttons, right? So one of the buttons. So when I do that and I click somewhere outside, they should come and reflect here. See, try clicking one of the buttons. The first button is ask a question. I'll say click here, maybe, right? I'll say don't click here, just some nonsense. All right, so you have these two options, and you notice that things will reflect immediately, and you can take a look at how things would look like by clicking on the preview button also. See, the things have changed and they have come up the way we want. Once we are good with all our changes, we have removed two sections from here also. We have removed the welcome headline. We can go back to builder and we can publish it. Cool. So that was the page structure, and every template comes with a page structure. If you want to create a structure of your own, you can always go to pages. You can click on the new page button, and here you can choose a standard page, and here you would get layouts available. So if you want to go for a specific kind of layout, you can do that, or you can even go for flexible layout, or you can also go with a one full width column, and then you can configure it the way you want, right? So whenever you are creating custom page layouts, you can configure them the way you want. It won't come with a predefined page structure. Cool. So that was a page structure, and then you have settings. Under settings, you have a lot of stuff, and this is again important. The administrator part was the settings for the portal in terms of administrative permissions, what should show up, what should not show up, who should have the right to do what, all of those settings, right? But here this is more on the portal governance. Portal configuration or portal builder values, or how would the portal look like, who should see it, and all of that. So under general, you see that again the template is mentioned, same thing again and again, but then you have public access option. So you see, if you want to give guest users access to your site, you can click this checkbox here. And once you do that, anyone who does not have a login password for this portal can still come in and visit this site as a guest user. So this is the setting that helps you enable guest user appearance, right? Then down below you have the site title, you can change it and you can make it something that you want. Then publish status is not published because we have not clicked the publish button yet. And then here you have something that's called the guest user profile. Normally in Salesforce you have profiles for every users, right? And whichever users you would be creating as part of the members of the portal would also be part of some profile. It could be the customer community profile, it could be the partner community profile, right? Similarly for guest users also, this is a guest user profile in the system, always remember, right? And you can configure that profile to provide and remove access. Basically guest users won't have any access by default. You would have to add up access and show them things that they want to see. Cool. Then you have something on the topic section, which is probably a service cloud implementation. We'll take a look at it later. Cool. Then you have theme. Again, you can change the theme from here. A lot of options to change the theme. Where do you see themes? You see themes here. You can change it here. You want to change theme here, you can change it here. If you want to reset it to how it looked initially, you can do that. Maybe you messed up. You want to go back to the first state. You can do that. Right? Then you have languages. If you want to add languages, maybe multi-languages, multilingual website is what you want to have, you can add language and add your translations for every word. And then what would happen is people could switch from English to Hindi, from Hindi to Chinese, from Chinese to Korean, whatever language they want to choose, they can switch and they can take a look at what the website says, right? And then you have Google Cloud Translation API also available. If you have purchased that, you can use that as well, and then Google will do your translation. You don't have to import your translations. Cool. Navigation. Navigation is basically the default navigation. Navigation is nothing but this particular section right here, wherein you have all the tabs. So for example, these are our tabs, right? These are also navigation items. Similarly on the community cloud, you have navigation items. So if you click on the home page opens. If you click on the topics page opens up. So that's your navigation items, right? And this is your default navigation that comes up. You can always create more for yourself and create and customize them. We'll take a look at this also very soon. So that's your default navigation. If I click on the edit icon, I should see that there are two things: home, which is not changeable, and then you have topics, which you can remove, right? So this is, and you can add more menu items here. You can add as many menu items you want. Cool. All right. So that was the navigation, and then you have mobile publisher, which is specifically for your mobile publisher apps, and you can manage the tab bar there. All right, so this is for your mobile publisher. You can configure your tab bar navigation. You can have a different kind of tab style. You can add colors. You can configure which should it show the back button, should it show the hamburger menu, and what should happen when the back button is pressed. And this is specifically for iOS. Cool. And then we have CMS Connect, right? Like I said, if you want any kind of data that's coming from an external source, Heroku, maybe Oracle, maybe AWS, you can set that up here. You can put the URL and you can configure the CMS source here also, the base source for your header and footer, right? You have CMS Connect separately also, wherein you can bring in a lot of information and you can create an entire workspace. You can have data shown to the customers. You can have files downloaded. So all of that can also be done, but that's in a separate space. We'll take a look at that also. Then you have advanced, wherein you can, if you are tracking your website, if you are currently logged in, what is the space that's being visited the most, all of that can be done through Google Analytics, right? So if you have purchased that and if you are setting that up, you can use this particular section to set your Google Analytics, right? And if you want to edit the head markup, again, this is available here. Security and privacy, you have clickjack protection, wherein you want to ensure that your headers are not attacked, and maybe you have some Visualforce pages that are configured, so you want to ensure that you have a good protection configured, right? So allow framing of site pages on external domains is a good protection, and allow framing by the same origin only is recommended. If you want to take a look at what click protection is, you can go to more details. You can take a look at the CSP policies, and you can take a look at the details here. So it's basically all secure, and it ensures that your data is not leaked and is not available to any kind of hackers, right? Then on the developer side, if you want to export your community, maybe let's say this is a community that you built and it took a lot of time, but this can be a potential seller for another customer. You can export your community. So if there's a page that you have created, you can export a page. If there's a theme that you have built, you can export that theme. If the entire template needs to be exported, you can export the template also. Cool. How does it help? Once you export it, you can even import it in your other sandbox orgs also. You can import that on your production org also. But a better use case would be if there's another customer who serves a similar purpose, you can pitch this particular template or the particular theme, and you can import it directly and make the customization required. Right. And lastly, your updates. So if there's any kind of updates that comes to the customer service template, you get an option here to update it and and install the update. So that's this section all about. Cool. So these are the 4 key things that pretty much sum up all the things you'd be doing on the builder side of the world. And now if we take a look at all these components which we already saw, right? So if I want to modify anything, I can hover over the component and click on it. And when I click on it, a pop-up opens on the right side, and this lets me see what all can be configured. So let's say I want to hide the app launcher in the header, this app launcher, right? I can just check this out. So this will hide my app launcher. Now only home and topics is coming up. So home text I want to replace with icon, I can just do that also. Right? If I want to enable a different navigation, so I can say edit default navigation, I can add a menu item. Let's say I want to go for a new navigation item altogether. So I go to settings, come to navigation, say add navigation menu, and I create a new navigation altogether. Right? We'll take a look at personalize also very soon. So this is the overview. I'll start next. What I'll do is I'll start with setting up a very simple website, and then we'll publish it, and then we'll see how things look like for actually the people who log in. And when we want to log in as people, we have to create those users in the system, right? And that is something that we'll look at next. So before publishing our website or before publishing our changes, what we'll do is we'll create users in the system, and that's what we'll look at next. So community user creation. Now before jumping into community user creation, I would want you to take a look back at the last 15, 20, 25 minutes that we have discussed. Maybe take one more look, because I went very fast and that's how typically I am. You can slow it down to maybe 0.75, or maybe if you are good with the speed, keep going. But I want you to take a pause, understand what was shown. You also try to explore every component. Try to do things like calendar, drag it here. What happens when you drag it here? See, calendar comes up. See all the options available, what all can be done. Oh, this color is not good. Can I change it? Try to think of things that you would want to do. Maybe your customer would want to do. Play around with it, see where all the permissions are, what are all the permissions that are mentioned, can I change it, what does it mean, do I want to give guest user access, oh okay, I have to come here. So do all those thinking and do all those kind of practical with yourself right now, and try to be comfortable with dragging, dropping things, and setting permissions. And that's how you would also gain that speed, and your hands would also move fast the way my hands are moving right now, right? So you can create a new page here. Just try to see things and try to build, because this is your free developer edition org, right? So you can do anything that you want, and there's no messing up, because everything can be redoed and undone, right? So you can once you publish it, that's when you can come back to a change by removing the change. But until and unless you don't publish, you can always undo your changes, right? So try looking at things, try changing the color of this section. Maybe how do you do that? Figure it out. Try to see, this is the page structure. Can I change the page structure? What should I do for that? Maybe I want to add one more item here. How do I add that? So try to ask good questions and try to answer them yourself. And if you don't have an answer, we'll be setting it up now. The very next thing after the user creation is we'll be setting up the communities. You'll see how the things we discussed come into good use and how they actually help customers. Cool. Take a pause. I would suggest go get some water and 5 long breaths, and then let's take a 15 minutes revision, and then come back here, and then let's set up users. And after we set up our users, we'll also build our community from scratch. Cool. Take your break. All right, so I hope you took a short break and you're all pumped up for the next session, right? So here onwards, we'll do interesting things. I know it might have been boring to go through all the theory, and then all of a sudden the entire community overview was very fast. But now that we start doing things, this would all come and make sense, because Salesforce makes sense, right? Cool. So the next thing we'll be doing is user creation. And one more time before user creation, I would want you guys to go back 15, 20, 25 minutes back and come back here with a revision, right? And then start with the next step, because or else it would be very overwhelming and it would all be very hodgepodge, right? Let's not do that, and let's try to understand what we have read. Let's try doing things that we have seen, and then come and start this section altogether. Cool. I hope you have done that, and now we are on the community user creation screen. All right. So here, Important interesting thing to notice, you have two kinds of users. Either you have customer and partner users, or you have internal users, your employees, right? How do we normally create users in the system? We create users by going into users and creating a user, right? So your employees or your internal users can be created as is. If I click on the new user button, I can create and fill in the information. But is that true for a community user also? It's not, because community users cannot be created in the traditional user creation way. So for community user creation, you need to follow some specific steps. Every community user is essentially a contact that is mapped to an account. Remember how we saw that allow users to self-register had an option to map it to an account? This is why it was, right? So what you would have to do is, you would have to create a parent account, you would have to create a contact associated to the account, and this contact can basically be converted to a user. It can be a partner user, it could be a customer user, right? And this is because your contacts are essentially actually individuals, right? And these individuals represent either customers or partners. So be it a customer or a partner, they would be contacts in the system, if you understand the nomenclature or the terminology, right? So if it's a customer, you would want to create a contact. If it is a partner, you would still want to create a contact. What if your partner is an organization? That is why you have your accounts created. So you would have Salesforce Makes Sense as an account, and under that you would have all the employees who are working for Salesforce Makes Sense, right? So they would be your partners, right? But tomorrow, if let's say there's some customer that's there, they would be either part of Salesforce Makes Sense, or maybe they would want to be a part of some other organization, and in that case you would create that other organization, and you would create a contact below that organization account record, and then create a customer or enable that user. How do you do that in Salesforce? Let's take a look. So instead of a traditional way that is used for internal employee or internal user creation, you would have to go to accounts. Let's go to accounts and let's create a new account record. Cool. So I'll just create a Salesforce Makes Sense account record, and I'll keep every contact below that account. Let's try doing that. So account, new. I'll call this Salesforce Makes Sense. Account number SMS 1001, account site, or let's just have my YouTube channel, that's okay. This is the type is technology partner, industry is technology, ownership is private, right? So I've just given the basic information about the account, and let's go ahead and create the account record. Now once you have the account record created, Salesforce Makes Sense, right? You can associate contacts here, right? Now before associating contacts, you also need to ensure that your account is enabled as a partner account, right? So let me show you something. Let's go ahead and create a contact first of all, right? So let's say under Salesforce Makes Sense, Himanshu is the contact who needs to be assigned the customer community or the hospital portal, right? Let's not use Himanshu's name because he's already the admin. So let me use some other name, right? Devesh, right? Let's say Devesh Bijja. All right. I have no clue what that surname is. So this is the title is code developer. It should not be a code developer. It is a clinical site inspector maybe, and department is hospital, and birth date I can give something from 1991, right? So far. So that's my contact record that's been created. Let's click on save, and I've associated this with the Salesforce Makes Sense account, right? Let's click on save. Now what we want to do is we want to enable this contact as a customer user or a partner user. We normally don't see that button here, but if I switch on to Salesforce Classic, let's see if I see that there. Let's go to Devesh Bijja. And see there's a button that's called Manage External User. Let's click on this button. We see that it says Enable Customer User, right? So when I click on Enable Customer User, let's see what happens. It opens up the user screen, right? And here I can provide all the details, email, username, the standard user creation details, and I can set up a user license and the community profile. I can choose that. And once I do that, I should be able to create a community user, which would essentially be a contact whose parent would be an account, and now this particular user would get an email All right, and when that email comes up, they should be able to log into the community, provided that community is live. Right now our community is in preview mode, it is not published, so we'll have to publish our community also. Right, before moving on to that point, this profile customer community user is a standard profile, right? And this license is all the license options are basically nothing but the community licenses options available, right? You have the named licenses, and then you have the login based licenses also, and some other license available. Cool. But it's always recommended not to use the standard profiles because you cannot modify anything here. So it's always better to clone your profile. So before creating a user, let's go to profiles and let's clone one of the profiles. Cool. So here I'll clone the customer community plus user profile. I'll say clone and I'll call it hospital community users. Cool. Let's click on save. Now that I've created this profile, I want to create a user here. So can I create a user by clicking the new user button here? No, it's not available. What do I have to do? I have to go to the account, and then I have to associate a contact there, and I have to enable the contact as the partner user or the customer user. Right now here, if you notice, when I'm on the account record, see, I have an option that I can enable this particular account as a partner. Cool. So if you have to create partner users, you have to enable your account as a partner, and if you want to go for customer users, you can always you can go to the contact directly and enable them as customers. See, but if you want to see where is the partner option, that would come up once you go to the account and you enable the account as a partner. I'll say okay, and now this particular account becomes a partner account, right? You see, all these extra options have come up, and now I can disable my partner account. And also, if I go to my contact record, instead of enable customer user, I'll see one more option that says enable partner user, right? That's why you have two options. So now let's go ahead and say enable customer user. That was just for showing you how to set up partner. And now here I'll configure everything and I'll set it up as the new profile that I created. So it was from customer community plus, so I chose the right license, customer community plus. I choose my customer community, I choose my hospital community users profile, and I say save. Cool. So here it's saying if you have selected the option send welcome email, it will go to this email right here, right? And this will only go when your community is published. So right now our community is not published, so we don't have to worry about any welcome email. It won't come up right now. When we publish our community, we'll ensure that the welcome email goes. Cool. So I'll say okay. So we get an error, right? So what does this say? This says that the portal account owner has no role, right? So let's try to break this into three things: portal, account owner, no role. So portal account owner has no role means an account owner must be associated with a role to enable portal users or transfer portal users. So what are we trying to do here? Himanshu, as the system admin, is trying to create a portal user, correct? So who would be the owner of that record that gets created? Himanshu. Now account owner is Himanshu because he created the Salesforce Make Sense record of the account, but he does not have any role assigned, which is a blocker, because to be able to create portal users, the owner must have a role assigned. And if I take a look at the owner here, if I go to users and if I take a look at my user record, I would notice that I don't have any role assigned. So this is from Salesforce, right? So I cannot create an account if I do not have a role. Which account? A partner account, or rather a customer account for community. So I have to give myself a role, or I have to be given a role to be able to create records. So I'll just call myself, let's say, from the Western sales team, and I'll say save. Cool. And once I have a role created in the system, let's go back to Devesh and let's now enable this user as a customer user. I'll choose the correct license, which is the customer community plus, and I'll say hospital community. I'll choose my email at details. I'll say save. Let's see what happens now. So it says updating records, and now my user has been created. And if you notice, this user has the contact associated, which is Devesh Bijja, and this contact is now linked with the user record. So every community user would have a contact ID associated with it as a relationship, right? And this can now be disabled. So you see, once you have enabled the user and you've created the user, now the buttons change. You can either take a look at the user record, you can disable the user from the system, or you can log into experience as user. So you can even log into your portal now. Cool. But which portal will it log in right now? Let's click on the login. So it says that the portal user is not a member of an experience, or your experience is down. Kind of getting the hint what's wrong here. See, first thing is we have not published our community, so no experience is live. So it says it is down, maybe. That's what it is feeling, Salesforce. And the second thing is the portal user is not a member of your experience. Member. Remember, we had to set up members. So what we have to do is we have to go to our administration, go to members, and now we'll have to enable the hospital community user profile and add it as the member. Now, whoever is part of this profile should be able to access this particular community. Let's click on save. So I've saved it here, right? Now let's try to log in again. Let's see what this says. So now it still says the same thing because the other problem is still on. Our experience is down because it is not really published, right? So there's no place which is live that we can go, right? So we'll have to publish our community, and only then we can let this particular user log in there. Cool. Now if I switch to the Lightning experience also, I should be able to see the login to experience as user button. The manage partner account, manage customer user account, all these buttons are available in Classic. So you can always switch to Classic and take a look at those buttons. Now I'm on the contact record. See here, I should be able to see, I don't see the button here. Let's see why so. Let's refresh. Let's take a look at, it's not coming up here, which means I have to add it on the page layout. So this is the contact page, right? So let's go to edit object. And here under page layouts, I should be able to add it through the layout, right? So here, if you notice, you have quick actions here, and then you have buttons available here wherein you see enable customer user, enable partner user, login to experience, login to portal. So these are all your classic buttons, right? And if I go to mobile and Lightning buttons, the buttons are available here also, but they are not added by default, so you have to add them. Cool. So you can add login to experience as user, you can add it here, right? You can add to login to portal, you can add the enable customer and partner users. So once you add them, only then it will come up and they would be visible there, or else you'll have to go to Classic and you'll have to modify. Let's refresh now. And now if I take a look at the buttons, I see login to experience. If I click on it, see, it's bringing me to a page, but it says that you have to log into the hospital portal. Now, do I have a username and password? No, because I have not been given this welcome email because my portal is not published yet. All right. So once I have my portal published, I will get my email and I'll set my password, and then I can come here and set it. Cool. And if you notice, see, Salesforce makes sense employee login. See, employees can directly log in without having a separate username and password. That's the option that they have. Cool. So here, if you notice one more thing, you have the branding with the Salesforce logo, you have the red color error message and the blue color logo. So you can change all of this also. Remember how we went to theme and we can change the login page colors and all of that. So that's basically will reflect here if you change it. And one more interesting thing to notice, you have forgot your password option here, but you cannot sign up. Why? Because you're not allowed members to self-register, right? That checkbox once enabled will give you an option to sign up here. So you can create your own user and you can give the information and you can create a user for yourself. The administrator does not have to come and create a contact and then create a user. They don't have to do it. If you self-register, it will automatically be created. Make sense? Cool. Let's now move on to setting up our site, at least publishing it to a ready format, and then see how things look like for this guy, right? Devesh Bijja. Funny name, right? I mean, funny surname, yeah. Let's go back to our portal. So how do we go to our portal? We go to sites and we say all sites. And here I'll say, now so you see I have a portal with two options. Either I can go to the workspaces or I can directly go to the builder. What is the current status? It is preview. So let's go to builder first of all. And now let's make it similar to how a hospital portal would look like, right? So let's modify the navigation menu. Edit default navigation. I'll get rid of the topics. I'll say add menu item. Now here I'll say my contacts, right? So here what is the type? A lot of options, but I'll choose the Salesforce object and I'll choose the contact object and I'll say show me all the contacts, or rather my contacts. Let's see all the contacts. All right. And I'll say save menu. So that's the new navigation item I have. That's one thing I did. Let's take a look at the components available. What do I want to put in here? Let's say I want to put a headline on the content header. I'll say welcome to the hospital community, right? So you see how I'm doing things. Just try to notice what I'm doing and what I'm changing. It's pretty much simple. It's no toughy, and you can also do the same. If you are parallelly doing this with me, you can bring in some components, play around with them, and try to publish your community. Same thing, right? And here I'll say take a look at all the patients. Cool. This will change the text here, and then down below you have some links. I'll leave them as is, that's okay. I'll close it. This section I can get rid of. I'll say delete. I don't want this section. I don't want this also. Let's say delete. I'll remove everything that's there that's not needed. Delete. Close this. There are some sections that are not showing up anything, so delete and delete. Now I think it's just the headline that I have, right? So deleted everything else, and this headline has this thing. And let's take a look at what is here. It's fine. Let's close it, and let's go to components. And now let's say I want to bring in anything random. Let's say I want to have the create record button, right? So if I get the create record button, I'll call it new contact, or I'll say create, or I'll say enroll patients. Maybe I'll just say enroll patients, right? And enroll patients, what should be the action here? I'll say new contact, right? So I'll choose new contact. I'll say save. Cool. Enroll a patient. It should be enroll a patient, not multiple patients altogether, right? So that's one. This is fine. And then on the sidebar, let me get something here as well. I'll just bring in activities. Let's bring in activities here. So whatever I do, I'll be shown as an activity. Okay. So cool. It won't have any data right now, but once we add data, it will show up. All right. So this is what I did, a very basic stuff. Or let's get rid of something this, and let's get something that would show up. So recent items. Do I have recent items? I don't see recent items. Let's see any list. Do I have? Let's get the file list only. Good, no problem. Let's give the file list. I should see all the files that are owned by me. I can upload files here also. Okay. So once I'm good with my layout, I'll say preview, and it looks good. There's some error here, which is fine. Let's try to publish and see if it still stays or not. Let's say publish. So this is the first time I'm publishing my site, and I'm making it live now, right? So I'm publishing. You see, it says that you are publishing your changes. Once it is done, we'll receive our email confirmation. All right. I'll say got it, and I'll go back to this icon, and I'll go to the workspaces. And now let's go to administration, and let's take a look at the settings. And you see, I want to now activate my site, right? So I'll say activate. And now it says whenever you activate, a welcome email is sent to the members, right? So this is when I'll receive a welcome email, and as an end user, I'll be able to set a password, and then I can log in. Cool. Let's say okay. And now once we activate it, our settings have been successfully saved, and now it is active. And I'm hoping that the builder has also been published. Let's go to Devesh Bijja's record, and let's try to log in. Cool. I'm logging in from Salesforce because just to show you guys quickly, but normally Devesh Bijja would be logging in using the portal username and the password, right? Whatever he gets. So let's click on login to username and as user. Login to experience as user. And once I do that, see gmail.com experience/hospital loads up, and I see the home page that I've just created, right? I have home, which is this page right now. I don't see that add button because probably I might not have the permissions, which is fine. And if I go to my contacts, what do I see? I see the all contacts list view, and I can open the Devesh Bijja's record. I can take a look at it. Cool. So you see how things look like on the community. What if I wanted to change this color? What if I wanted to add a logo? What if I wanted to remove the search icon? What if I wanted to add more things here? What if I wanted to add more components here? What if I wanted to add an image as the background? Everything can be done. Cool. Everything can be done. So we'll configure that very soon. But right now what I've done is I've created a user for you. I have associated that user as a contact. That contact has been enabled as a partner or a customer user. If it has to be a partner user, the parent account also has to be enabled as partner. And once that is done, the user record is created, and now that user gets a welcome email. And once they have a welcome email and the community is published, they can log into the community. Cool. And what was the crucial step that we took? That was we added the profile that we created as a member of the community portal, or else Devesh would not have access, right? Because the member section is missing. Cool. All right. Let's now take a look at what's next. The next thing is audience targeting, right? So under audience targeting, what we would be taking a look at is how a single community can be shown differently to different audiences, right? Now, for example, your doctors would be logging into this particular community. The patients would be logging into this community, right? How do we show different things to them? All right, so now under audience targeting, we target audiences. Wow, what a line. Anyways, so under audience targeting, what we'll be doing is we'll be using a single community and using it to show different UI or different components or different placeholders for different profiles, right? For example, in our hospital portal, you could have both hospital doctors and patients enrolling in and taking a view or taking the advantage or using the community, right? So how do we ensure that we have a different UI or a different perspective for the patient and a different perspective for the doctors, right? That's wherein audience targeting comes into the picture, and Salesforce provides you good audience assignments and audience targeting features and tools so that you can accomplish the same, and you don't have to create separate communities and do the same repetitive work, right? You can use one community, bring all the personas and the actors in the system under one umbrella and show them things the way they are supposed to see it using the concept that's called audience targeting. Cool. Let's take a look at the first concept, which is page variations, right? So the entire page that you see can have a variation in itself, and it can be shown based on the target audience, right? So the use case we'll be considering is that you have two types of partners in the system. One is doctors and the other one is patients, right? So doctors should see the doctor homepage that shows the welcome message for doctors, whereas the patient should see the patient homepage that shows the welcome patient message along with a helpline number to connect with, right? This is the use case. So the doctor will see the welcome message and the patient will see a welcome message but a helpline number also. All right, and this is a variation on the page level. Let's try to accomplish this. So we'll go back to our builder. Everything that we do now would be on the builder most of the times. So let's go to builder. And to create a page variation, you have to go to the page and you have to click on this gear icon here, and there is something that's called page variation we did not cover previously, right? So this is that page variation. Now here, if you notice that there's one variation that is of the status published and the audience assigned is default. What I want to do is I want to create a new variation, and what I can do is I can either duplicate it or I can create it all together. So I'll just duplicate it for the ease of saving time, and this is called home 1 and it is unpublished. So let's go ahead and edit it. Let's rename it. So I'll call it patient homepage. I'll call this one doctor homepage, right? So these are the two variations I have. Now doctor homepage is published, whereas the patient homepage is not published, right? So let's go back, and now on the patient homepage, I can switch and come back to any variation. Let's say I want to go to doctor homepage first of all. So this is my doctor homepage and this is how it looks, right? So I'll say, welcome to the hospital community. Take a look at all the patients which are waiting for your arrival, right? So this is the message I want to show to the doctor, right? So I'll just leave it as is, and now let's go back to the patient homepage, and here let's modify the same headline tag, and I'll say, hello there, please call this toll-free number. I'm just putting some random number 1-800-911-8778 if you have any issues, right? So this is the message I want to show to my patients, right? So these are the two things that I've done. Let's click on publish. So my changes are being saved, but let's say got it, and now let's do something before jumping into anything else. Let's try to do it the hit and trial way so that you understand, okay, this is the issue that came up and this is how Himanshu solved it and this is how we need to solve it, right? So I have created the headline for patient and I've created the headline for doctor. These are two different things, right? Right now Devesh Bijja is a doctor in the system, right? We have created a user for him. Let's create one more user, and that's the patient user. So before creating a patient user, let's create a different profile altogether for a patient, right? So I'll go back to customer community plus user. I'll clone this profile and I'll call it patient profile. I already have it in typo, so patient profile, save. Cool. So I have a patient profile. Now what I need to do is I need to go to account and I need to go to Salesforce Make Sense. Let's go to and create a new contact now. So now this new contact would be a patient, right? So this would be Shirley Ahuja, right? So let's say that the title is there's no title, but department is also not there because this contact is a patient who's enrolled. So let's put in the birth date. I'll just put in something in 1990s and let's just leave this as is, right? Let's click on save. So my contact record has been created. Now for Shirley Ahuja, let's see if she gets to log into Experience. See, there's no option for Shirley to be able to log in. Why is that so? Let's go to Salesforce Make Sense and let's see the option for Devesh Bijja. Devesh Bijja can log into Experience. Why do I not see the button for Shirley then? Think for a moment and try to get the answer yourself. So if I go to Shirley Ahuja, she has to be enabled as the customer user, right? And for us to enable that, let's go to Salesforce Classic. Now let's take a look at Shirley Ahuja's record and let's take a look at the manage external user. See, I'm not able to log in as user because I've not created the user yet, right? And for me to create it, I first have to enable the user as a customer or a partner user, right? So let's say enable customer user. And this time, let me still use all my details, that's fine. So let me go ahead and choose the right license and the right profile, which is the patient profile. And now once I save this, I should be able to receive an email and like this pop-up says, right, that the send welcome email will trigger and will come to my email. And since our community is now published, we should be receiving the email. Okay, this looks like a duplicate username issue. Let me just fix it and let's say save. Okay. Yep. And now our user is created and a contact would be associated to it, right? Let's open the contact Shirley Ahuja and now we should start seeing the login to Experiences user button, right? Cool. Now let's try to log in, but let's switch to Lightning Experience first. So I'll just switch to Lightning and let's try to log into Experience from here. Okay, so it still gives me an error, but this time I hope you already understand why the error is. This is because it's not because the portal is down, because we already published it, but it is because this portal user profile is not part of the experience. We'll have to add the profile as member, right? Let's do that. Let's go to members. And here if you notice, the hospital community users, which are the doctors, are already as members, but the patient profile is still not, right? Which is why you don't see the option to log in and you get an error. Let's now save it with the patient profile. And now once this is saved, we can go back and log in. And now Shirley should be able to log into the hospital portal. You see, the login has happened now, right? But the next issue is, we see that the message that we were supposed to show to the doctors is coming for Shirley. Welcome to the hospital community. Where is the helpline text? It's not here, right? Which means we missed out something. Let's go back to our builder. And now let's take a look at what the issue is. We did create two pages, right? So we created a doctor homepage and we created a patient homepage. So the patient homepage does have the helpline number, but why is Shirley not being shown that? Now this is because we did create our pages, but we did not assign them, right? So if you take a look at this page, there are two pages, but if I go to the page variations section, and I click on page variations, I see that both are published, but there's no audience assigned for patient homepage, and doctor homepage is set as default, which means anyone who logs in will see the doctor homepage. I have to assign an audience, right? So to be able to do that, I can just click on this icon and I can assign audience, right? So I cannot change the default assignment until and unless I assign something else to someone. So I'll say assign here. And now I'll say create a new audience. How do you create an audience? You have some specific criteria that you can use. So before creating a criteria, let's give it a name. So patients only. Let's say this is the name, and here you can put a custom logic. You can use an AND condition or an OR condition. I'll say all conditions for now. And under criteria type, you can use location, the location of the person, permissions that they have enabled, profile of the user, or the user related fields. So you could say something like, if my patient is from Africa, only show this particular component to them. How would you do that? You would say user dot country is equal to Africa. What if you want to put something like location equals this particular lat long? You can put something like that. Currently we don't have location enabled, that's why it's giving an error. What if you wanted to check if this user has this particular permission to access activities, only then show this component? You can do this level of filtering also. And then you have profile. You can check if the profile is patient profile, then show this particular page to that person. This is what we will choose for now. Cool. So patient profile only. Patient profile users only. This is the name of the audience, and my condition is that the profile should be equal to patient profile, save and assign. Once I do that, my patient homepage should be assigned to the patient profile audience, right? Published. And now doctor homepage will be for everyone else, default. So if I log in as a third profile, let's say as a household member profile, which page will I see? I'll still see the doctor homepage because I've not configured that. But if I log in as the patient profile user, I'll see this page. Let's confirm that. Before confirming, we'll have to publish the changes. Publish. Cool. I should be receiving an email anytime soon. Let's now refresh my page as Shirley Ahuja. So you see, I see the hello there component coming up for Shirley, and I see the helpline text. Now your pages have been, there's a variation in the page that you see as a patient and as a doctor. Make sense? Cool. So that was the first kind of audience targeting that you can do, which is on the page variation level, right? Let's take a look at the second level. That's components. So if you have a same page, let's say you don't do a page variation, you have just one page, and on that one page you want to show different components to different people. Let's say there are two kinds of doctors you have, neurosurgeons and general physicians, right? So you want to show a report chart that's on the brain activity for a patient, and you just want to show that to the neurosurgeon, right? You won't have to show that to the general physician. Now that's a component, that's not an entire page. So do you want to go and create another page for the physician? No, because all the other components are same. What you can do is you can assign an audience, and that audience can basically define which components will be seen. How do you do that? So for example, this says right here, the doctor should see the account list view that shows all the patients in the system, whereas the patient should not see the list view at all, right? So let's say, instead of this example, because I've created two different profiles, this might not work. Let's say I want to add a component here. Let's go back to experience. Let's first of all log out of here, and let's go back to our own administrator view. Right now we are here. This will not give me any errors now. So let's go to builder now. This is file not found. Let's refresh. It still says file not found. Let's say builder. Let me refresh. This is a session issue. Yeah, it just logged me out. So I'll just go back here and I'll go to sites. And under sites, let's go to builder. And here I have doctor homepage and I have patient homepage, right? Let's assume that we did not have a page variation. Let me just remove the page variation. All right. So I'll just get this away. I'll say delete. Cool. Now everyone will be on the doctor homepage, right? Now what's our use case? Our use case is that on the same page, the doctor should be seeing a list view. Let me just bring in a list view. I'll say component. So I'll get a record list and I'll put it here. All right. Let me just get rid of some things. Let me just remove this files list, delete, and let's get rid of this. And then this button, I'll just get rid of. It's not showing up, right? So let's get rid of the button also. All right. So I have this list view now. What is this list view? This should be 25 records is fine. Layout should be compact. Okay, I don't like this layout. Let's say standard. Yeah, this is fine. And object should be contact, right? I want to see my patients and I want to see my patients, right? So let's say I have set this up, and now I want to publish it. Now when I publish it, you should assume, you should presume that if I log in as the doctor, I'll see this page. If I log in as the patient, I'll still see this page. But now the requirement says that the doctor should see the list view, whereas the patient should not see the list view. How do we do that? So we click on the component now. Instead of the page level variation, instead of creating a page variation, what I do is I click on the record list component. It can be any component, and you can just click on this caret icon here, and you can say assign. So who do you want to assign this to? You want to assign this to only the doctors, right? So this is the patient profile audience. You want to create a new audience, and you want to assign this for doctors only. And here I'll say profile equals which profile? Hospital community users, right? And you'll say save and assign. See, now this says it is visible to doctors only, which is the audience that I've just created for hospital community users, right? Now what you have done here is you have created a component, and you have shared that component through a component audience assignment. Let's say I want to bring in one more component. Let's say I want to get in, let's say I want something like a calendar. Okay, I want the calendar to be shown only to the patients. So what do? I click on that caret icon, I say assign, and I assign this to the patient profile so that they can see when is my next appointment and all of that thing, right? So this is now visible only to the patient profile users, and I'll say publish. Now if I log in as the doctor, what should I see? I should see the list view. If I log in as the patient, I should see the calendar, correct? Let's try to test it out. I'll go back here, and let's go to contacts. First of all, let's log in as the doctor. I should see the list view. Let's say login. So you see, I see the page, but the list view is not coming up. Let's take a look at why is this issue. This is my contacts list view, right? Which means the contact object access should be given to the user, right? Let's see how do we accomplish that. Let's log out from here. Let's log in as the admin. Now there are some permission issues that we are facing, right? So we'll have to figure that out. Let's go to profiles. Before doing that, let's do something. Let's log in as Shirley, and let's see if she at least sees the calendar, because calendar does not really need any permission. So let's see if that's happening. All right, so I'll go and log in as Shirley, log into experience as user. So you see, I see the same component and the calendar is loading here, right? Which means things are working for Shirley, but there's some permission issue with the contact list view. That since that associates an object, I have to ensure that the permissions are available for the doctor's profile, right? How do we figure that out? Let's log out. Let's log in. And as the administrator, what profile do I want to check? I want to check the hospital community users profile, right? Let's go to profiles, and let's open the hospital community user profile. I'll go to H directly, hospital community users, and here first of all, the way of checking the permissions is you check the object level permissions first, and then you check the field level permissions. Right now I'm not seeing the list view, which means the object in general is not available for me. Let's see object. There's nothing on the object permissions. I'll type object permissions here. See, so standard object permissions. What about the contact object? Where's the contact object? I see that the read access is there, right? So the read access is there, then why do I not see the list view? Let's try to figure it out. So you see, the create and customize list views options is not checked for me. And is there any other option for list views? The quip is there, but this is not something that I need. And about contacts, let's see. Contacts, I don't see any tab. And for permission, the read permission is there. So let's try to edit some things and see if that works out for us. Okay, let's click on edit. So this is the customer community plus, I believe contacts is available to us. So let's just be on that premise, and let's try to see list views. Let's try to give this permission, and then let's go to contacts, and let me just provide create and edit permissions also for now. Okay, I'll just try to save it with this information. And now let's go back and log in. This is giving me a session error. Let's go back and log in. So I'll log in as Devesh now, and let's try to see what happens. So I still don't see the list view, right? I just see the top level component. So list view not visible to customer, community plus user. Let me try to find what's happening. So list view not showing any records, cannot see list view in customer, community, right? So this is one thing that I can probably take a look at. So this is also one that's associated to us. So let's see these two articles. Let's see what do they say. Maybe something that can help us. So this says, I created a custom case list view. The visibility is set to all. When I click on my case I only see a blank when I select the custom list view. Is there something I should be doing? I have been running into the same issue where the community users, I just upvoted the idea. Okay, there's some issue here, and this says there's nothing here also. So probably this is some issue. Let me try figuring out myself why is this not working. So if we go back and take a look at contacts, or let's do something, let's go to the builder. All right, let's go to the builder and figure out what permissions are given. Let's go to setup. So this is my home page, right? This contains components that are visible only to specific audiences. Cool. If I click on the record list and I see that this is visible only to doctors, right? And doctors is no one but hospital community people. So let's say assign. Let me do something instead of contact. Maybe let me try accounts. Maybe some issue with contacts. Let me see if this works. If it does not, then there's some issue with the community only. Okay. So I have switched this to account. Let's try to publish it. All right. Let's say publish. Now let's go back and try to log in as Devesh, as the doctor. At least he should start seeing the account list view now. If not the contact, at least account should show up if there's some permission issue or Salesforce issue. So I've just logged in. Right, so now I see the accounts list view at least, which means it's showing me accounts, maybe some permission issue with contacts, or maybe some issue with Salesforce that it's not displaying the contacts list view. But if you notice, the list view is coming up, the calendar is not showing up, right? So you have been able to successfully assign a component through audience assignment, and the page is same, but you see different views for different profiles, right? And this criteria can be on the profile level again, it can be permissions level, it can be user level, it can be location level, right? Those are the 4 options you have available. Let's take a look at the third option. That's the branding set. Now it says that you need to show branding information based on the target audience. What's the use case? The doctor should have a blue based color theme, whereas patient should have a green based color theme. That's just a simple use case I took. But a better example would be, what if your community is in different countries, right? You have patients from India, you have patients from America, you have patients from Africa, you have patients from Australia. You'd want to have a different theme for every one of them, right? Or let's say you have your core logo, your parent organization with child entities in different countries or maybe different locations, different regions. You'd want to have a different UI perspective for all these different users. Or let's say you have different vendors in a single community working for you. Let's say there are 2 types of vendors working for you, right? Let's say there's the blood bank, and then there's also the physiotherapy clinic team, right? Let's say these are the two people, 2 sets of vendors you have. So you'd want to show different pictures, different color themes for them, even if you're using the same community, right? How do you do that? So you'd have to go to your community, and even this kind of audience assignment can be done. Now let's take a look at how this can be achievable. Right? So what have we done so far in terms of variation? We have gone to the page, we have created a different page, and we have assigned the pages to different profiles. That's on the very top level. Then we have come inside a page, we have ensured that the page is the same, but we have said that, specific components can be shown to different people. Even that we have done. Now let's take a look at the branding sets. All right. So to take a look at branding sets, what do we want to do? We want to change the color and all of it, right? So color and theme and font size, where are these things available? These are available on the theme option here, right? Components were available here. Now themes will be available here. So for themes, let's take a look at colors, images, and all of it. So you see, colors are available. Again, your hint is this icon here. So you see, whenever you click on the icon, if you are here, you click on the icon, you get to assign, right? Similarly, you are here and you click on this icon, you get to assign, right? Now for themes, you can click on the colors and you can manage your branding sets here, or you can even go to the theme section and you can manage it here. Cool, on the top level. So I say manage branding sets, and when I click on it, I see that there's one branding set created. What is a branding set? Basically all your setup. What would be the logo, what color would be for what specific thing. Text would look yellow, links would look blue, this would be highlighted, this would be white in color, this would have this image. All of these things are available here. What do we want to do? We want to have a different branding set for different personas or different profiles. We have the doctors and we want one for patients. What do? I click on this and I say duplicate. If I want to create it from scratch, I can always click on the new button here. Cool. And if I say duplicate, I should get one more option here, and I'll say edit, rename, and I'll call it patient branding. All right. And the first one would be obviously doctor branding. So just to ensure that I understand things properly, I give it relevant names. I cannot leave it customer service and customer service 1. Why? Because 6 months later when I come in, I won't remember which one is assigned to which profile, right? It's always better to give right names, good names, and easily understandable names, not just for you, for someone else who's working, right? Now, doctor branding, let's try to edit it. If I click on edit, let's see what do I get. Let's see if I click on edit. So branding set is currently doctor branding. I can go to colors and I can say text color should be this color. See, color has just changed. It's such a weird color. Let me take something better. Let's take this green. Cool, this is better. What about the action color? Let's say I want something more darker, and then link color, I'll say something more exactly, maybe let's see, yeah, the shades of purple is good, right? Now I've changed these colors, right? This is for the doctor branding. Let's go back, and now let's say branding set as patient branding. So for patient, the color of the text color should be completely red. Oh, it was supposed to be completely green, right? So I'll just say green, right? This green, and then maybe the navigation background color should be dark black, or maybe let's say yellow. Just trying to figure out ways to see things differently. And login pages is fine. Background color would be something on the orange shade, right? I'll just choose this color. Cool. Once I'm good with this, I'll just go back and go to branding. I've done the brandings, but again, what's my issue? If I take you through that hit and try route, what we'll figure out is that we have not assigned it to anyone. We named it patient and doctor, does not mean that it will be shown to patients and doctors. Salesforce is intelligent, not that intelligent yet, right? What we need to do is we need to assign. Cool. Right now this is set as default, so you won't be able to edit the assignment. So what I need to do is assign this to some specific persona. So I'll say assign, and this will be assigned to which guys? Patient profile guys. Assign, and now we are good. So now doctors would see this branding and patients would see this branding. Cool. Once we are done with this, let's close and again publish. All right. So now that we have done that, let's take a look at how things would look like. So right now I'm logged in as Devesh. Let's refresh this again. And now the color and color coding should change. See, this is in black. All of these things have changed, and this is in green, right? Let's try to log out from here and let's log in as Shirley and see how things look like for her. Let's log out and log in. Let's go to contacts. Let's log in as Shirley. Let's see. So you see the color and all of it is different for her, right? So this is how you can completely modify your branding sets, right? This was a very straightforward example of just changing colors, but this would look more relevant when you have different profiles using the same community, and you actually setting up logos, different login pages, different colors, and different stuff here. All right. One more thing I wanted to add. Do I have it on my curriculum? Let's check. No, I do not have it here. So one more thing is the navigation item. Let's say you want to show different navigation items. Even that can be done. How is that so? Let's take a look. Let's say log out. Let's go to the builder, and here on the builder we have something that's called navigation items, right? Where do we configure it? We configure it here on the settings under navigation. Even I can create a new navigation here, right? I can create a new navigation menu altogether. So let's say I want to edit this navigation and I want to make it just for the doctor. I'll just say, okay, the default navigation cannot be renamed, quick learning, but I can create one for the patient. So I'll say patient navigation, right? And I just want the home page here, and let's say save. So now I've created a patient navigation. Right? What I can do is I can modify this navigation, which already has the home button, whereas the default navigation, what does it hold? It has home and my contacts, right? Let's now publish it. So it says there are no changes to publish because we have not really assigned anything. So right now I have two navigations, right? Again, the same thing. If we go with the hit and trial route, we'll see that both the profiles will see the same navigation menu. What do I need to do? I need to personalize. How did this section pop up when I clicked on the navigation menu? I'll say personalize, and now I'll say patient navigation should be assigned to the patient profiles. Assign, done. Cool. And default navigation is for the default, whoever else is logged in. Cool. So I'll say done. And now I can publish my changes. Now once I publish, I should start to see that Shirley would just see the home page and Devesh would see two different pages, two different navigation items. So let's say I go to Shirley Ahuja, I should just see the home page, whereas for Devesh I should see two different navigation items. So this is as Shirley, I just see the home page, right? Whereas for Devesh, let's log in and see, I should see two different navigation items. Cool. All right. So now that we have understood what are the prerequisites for Community Cloud, or rather Experience Cloud, where could you use Experience Cloud, and then what are the kind of users that you can create, what are the kind of portals you have, what are the templates available, what are the licenses, and what is the pricing, and what type of licenses should you use based on your requirement. And then we jumped into the builder and the administrator part of it, wherein we configured the Community Cloud for a simple hospital portal wherein you had a doctor view and a patient view, and we tried to target audiences and show components, show pages, and show specific branding to different personas, right? So that's where we are at right now. And with that, the primary objective of understanding Community Cloud and how to drag and drop elements and what to look, where to look, and how to look, all of that has been covered. But I just wanted to extend this topic to a specific Service Cloud implementation wherein you have the need to enable knowledge, right? Now, for those of you who are familiar with Service Cloud implementation, you have knowledge articles, right? And for those of you who don't really understand what knowledge articles are, so basically, for example, you have let's say a support center, right, a data center, or maybe a call center, right, and there are people behind the calls who are talking to you, solving your cases, and assigning your cases, escalating your cases. So all of that is happening right now. If you have noticed, everyone who's associated with that call center, let's say you call Netflix, that your subscription amount has been deducted but your subscription has not started yet. So the answer that you'll receive from any of the representatives will be same, like it won't be different based on the person who's there, right? So they follow a kind of a script, correct? And that script is basically this knowledge articles that are present. So any company who has maintenance and support services enabled, they have certain FAQ scripts, they have certain articles, they have certain guidelines, and those guidelines are nothing but to maintain the consistency and the responses that they give to their customers, right? So similarly, in Service Cloud implementation on Salesforce, you have something that's called knowledge, and knowledge is basically knowledge articles that you can store, and you can store your articles. Now these articles are nothing but those documentations specifically that Service Cloud representatives need to help their customers, right? Now, an interesting point is, how do you enable knowledge for Salesforce communities or Salesforce experience, right? Knowledge is an object in Salesforce, and it can be enabled on the Salesforce side, pretty straightforward, but the same has to also be made available on communities. Let's say that's a requirement. So to do that, I just wanted to put up this use case and just quickly take you through understanding how you can enable knowledge. Cool. So far what we've covered is the basics of communities, and we have tried to understand whatever we could do in terms of setting up Experience Cloud and getting our hang around different things. And I believe you are also feeling comfortable with if you have done this with me, you are also feeling a bit comfortable and you were able to do things around and check things out. So that's super cool. I would also be sharing an assignment super soon with that revolves around Community Cloud implementation that should solidify your concept and your working on the Experience Cloud builder. All right, so moving on to the Service Cloud implementation and enabling knowledge for communities, let's take a look at what we really need to do. So not everything is directly jumped onto. You always have some prerequisites that you need to cover, right? So for knowledge articles, understand that knowledge is an object, all right? And for knowledge articles, what you need to do is, the first thing you need to enable is that the user that will be configuring your knowledge related stuff should be a knowledge user, all right? So this should not be a knowledgeable user, but yeah, you have to be knowledgeable as well as a knowledge user. Now this knowledge user is a feature license. Now let's take a look at our current user. So I'm logged in as Himanshu right now, right? So let's take a look at this user. So here there's something called, there are some feature licenses, right? Marketing user, offline user, knowledge user, and knowledge user is currently unchecked. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll try to check this box. All right, so this is the very first thing that you need to do. For you to be able to set up knowledge articles, you have to be a knowledge user. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to enable knowledge in your system. So to enable knowledge, you'll have to go to knowledge settings. Now let's type knowledge on the quick find box. I don't see it now. Let me refresh it. I believe I just checked the box, right? So let's see. Yeah, so once you enable the knowledge user settings, you get the knowledge features under the feature settings, and you can go to knowledge settings, and this would give you a prompt to enable it. So it says before enabling, you can consider the following things, which are fine. You cannot reverse it, which is fine. We are here to learn knowledge related settings. I'll say yes, I understand, and I'll say enable knowledge. So it cannot be undone. I understand that. Let's say okay. All right, so now that my knowledge settings have been enabled, I see a lot of options that come up, and a lot of checkboxes and permissions, right? So for example, allow users to create and edit articles from the articles tab is already checked. Allow users to add external media is already checked. Activate the validation status field is not checked, right? Lightning knowledge settings, enable lightning knowledge is not checked. So this is something that we'll need because we're working on lightning, right? So let's go ahead and do that the very first thing. Enable lightning knowledge. Cool. And what's the next thing we need to take a look at? So we have enabled knowledge from knowledge settings. Once enabled, enable knowledge for lightning. This is what we did just now. And you can also take a look at thumbs up and thumbs down settings. So down below, you have something that says enable thumbs up or down voting for articles, right? So you can enable this, and this is only for classics. So we can go ahead and do it, or else you don't need to do it. All right, let's save this. All right, so the basic settings have been done, and we'll leave these checked as is. That's fine. Let's take a look at what we need to do next, right? So next we'll need to set up the knowledge object, right? Now we are a knowledge user and we have enabled knowledge. So we'll get an object that's called knowledge, and we can set it up. Cool. So let's take a look at what does the knowledge object hold currently. Let's type in knowledge. Yeah, so right now I can take a look at any draft articles there. There's nothing draft, there's nothing published, and there's nothing archived, right? So like I said, these are all articles, right? So let's go ahead and say new, and I can create a new knowledge article. So I'll say, where do I learn Salesforce? You can put a URL name, which will automatically be populated without spaces, right? I'll say save. Cool. So this is a knowledge article that's created, and it is currently draft, right? So you can always go ahead and publish it. Let's see the related section or the versions. There's nothing here, and the version is draft right now. So that's fine. Let's go to the details section, refresh our tab. Cool. If I now go back to knowledge articles and I take a look at draft articles, I should be able to see my article, and when I click on this article and say publish, my article will be published. Like that. That's the basic idea. Cool. So once you publish your article, you can move it back to draft as well, but publishing an article means it would be available for everyone to take a look at. Cool. And if I want to delete the article or assign an article, I can do that as well. Cool. And here there's something that's called summary. I think I should also be able to edit the summary. I'm not sure where is this, but let's say if I want to publish it, I'll go ahead and publish it. Cool. So my article has been published, and if I take a look at the published article section, I see my article, right? So that's the basic knowledge object that's available. But what we want to do is, let's say we want to create some record types, right? And the record types are FAQ, terms and conditions, general, and maintenance, right? Let's create some of them. Let's try to understand. So I'll go to object manager, go to knowledge, and here under record types, let's create some record types. So I'll say learning, and I'll say this will contain learning material. All right, and I'll make this available to, let's say for now, I'll just make this available to my community users, which is the hospital port community user guys, the patient community profile, and the system administrator. Cool. So I'll just make this available to these three people. All right, and I'll apply this existing layout to them. That is fine. Let's go ahead and click on save. All right, so I've created a record type now. right? Let's go ahead and create one more record type. So I'll just say new. I'll call it general. This will contain general information about Salesforce. Cool. And I'll activate it as well, and I'll make this available again to the 3 profiles that we currently have, this one, and this right here. All right, so this is just me setting things up on the Salesforce org side. We'll take a look at how this works on the communities, but we need to do the prerequisite, right? So I've created 2 record types. Cool. Now that I have 2 record types, I'll just create some custom fields so that we can use them on the layout also, right? So I'll go to fields and relationship, and I'll say new, and I'll call it a text field. Next, and I'll say information about the article. All right, the length would be 255, and I'll say just say next. I'll make it again available to only my profiles. It's better not to modify all the profiles, not a good practice. Just give permissions to profiles that need it, right? So let's go ahead and say next and add it to the layout and save. Cool. So I've created 2 record types and I've created 1 field, right? Let's now take a look at how the new article looks like. So if I click on the new button now, I will be prompted for the knowledge article record type, and when I choose that, I should also see the information about the article field, right? So let's go ahead and create some articles. All right, let's go ahead and create 1 or 2 articles with this record type. So under learning, so that was the learning article, the general article. It's absolutely free of cost. All right, so these are the 2 articles I've created on 2 different record types, and I have my Salesforce side of the world ready, right? And I believe these are all drafts. So let's go ahead and publish my articles. So I'll just choose them and say publish, and I'll say publish. All right, so my articles have been published, and in total I have 3 articles, I believe. Yes, and then I have 2 which are of some record type. Cool. Let's now take a look at our communities. Let's go to home and let's go to sites. And before going to the community, we have the knowledge articles created. All right, but there's one more topic that there is, which is topics. So your knowledge articles have to be associated to topics. All right, just keep that in mind. This is just a Service Cloud related implementation. So topics are basically categories wherein you can club some knowledge articles, correct? So you'll have to also enable topics and set them up. So let's take a look at what I have next. I believe I should have also, yeah. So enabling topics, right? This is what you need to do as well. So knowledge object is set up, records have been created, and now we need to enable topics for knowledge object. All right, so let's take a look at where do we find this. If I type in topics here, I have topics, right? So topics for objects, and here I can enable the topics for objects for specifically my knowledge article. Cool. So let's see, where is knowledge article? This is right here, which is currently disabled, but I'll say enable topics, and I can choose my fields, right? So I'll just choose the title and the information, and I'll say enable topics. So now topics have been enabled for the knowledge article object, and now my records can also can be basically summarized or categorized into topics. Cool. And I have created those knowledge records, and let's try to share it with the community users. Cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at our articles. All right, so these are all published. Let's go to our site, and now let's move on to the community. Let's go to workspaces. All right, so here let's see what we can do. Let's go to builder, or instead of builder, let's see, I have to go to content management first. Yes, so since now we are handling documents and articles and all of that, so we have to come to a concept that's called content management, right? So I talked about CMS, or content management system, wherein you either have data or documents or information that's available in third-party systems or vendors, and you want to show that here. This information can also be in your local Salesforce org. You can still use content management to show it to your people, right? So now the first thing is, if you see, there are collections that you can create, right? And then there are topics that you can create. Cool. And under topics, if you notice, you have topics and you can manage your articles, right? We have currently some articles created, correct? So before managing our articles, let's go ahead and create a topic. So our topic is Salesforce. I'll create this topic, contains articles relating to Salesforce. All right. I'll say enable for content and I'll say save. That's my first topic. Let me create one more topic. I'll say growth. This contains all documents pertaining to individual's growth. All right. I'm just creating two topics wherein we can push in some articles inside them. So if I take a look at the Salesforce topic, this opens up and I have the Salesforce topic, and right now there's nothing to see here, right? And same is for the growth topic also, but you can open it and you see this is coming up on your community pretty much fine, right? This is a standard template that we can also modify, but right now if you notice, you should start seeing articles here once you have associated the articles. Right now there are no articles found because there's no topic, no article that is assigned this topic, right? Now that we have our topics, let's go to article management. And under article management, you see we have 3 articles that are showing up. Now here we want to select a data category. All right, let's click on article without topics. All of the 3 don't have a topic. I'll say Salesforce makes sense will be for the learning topic, right? Save. What are the charges? This would also be learning. All right, and where do I learn Salesforce? Let me just put this under growth. All right, let's say save. Now let's take a look at all the articles. All my articles have been assigned a topic, right? And now if I take a look at my article, let's say if I go to my topics and I open growth, now you see I see an article here. So under growth, I see where do I learn Salesforce, and when I click on this article, I should also be able to read the content about it. So you see one article is there, it contains all documents. This is the description that we put, and you are able to see that under the growth column. Cool. Similarly, you can also do things like navigational topics and feature topics, right? So if you take a look at feature topics, I can pick up a topic and I can make that a feature topic so that you can take a look at the feature topics on the home screen. So if let's say if I go for growth and I say save, and now if I go to the community builder, so let's say we want to add some articles for the patients, right? So right now I mixed this with Salesforce learning articles and the doctor patient profile, but be with me and try to understand the use case. So for example, I have articles wherein patients need to understand, like, when can you visit the premises, what is the dosage for a specific medicine, all those kind of articles that a patient might find handy, right? What to do in case of an emergency, or how do you call an ambulance and all of it. So what I can do is I can choose a component, and here I should have something that's called feature topics and feeds, right? And this is feature topics. So let me go ahead and choose feature topics, and let me put this right below the welcome tile. So right, so this is the feature topics, and let me try to publish it. Cool. And before publishing, what I also want to do is I want to assign this to a specific audience, right? So who do I assign it to? The patients. I don't want the doctors to see it, right? They already know everything. So I'll say patients and I'll say assign. I'll say done. Cool. Now this is visible to only the patients, and here it is asking me to add or edit some featured topics. Let's take a look at the featured topics. I do not have any featured topics created, so I'll just add growth and I'll add learning, let's say. Okay, 2 of them are added. I'll just say save. Cool. My settings have been saved, and now if I go back and log in as who was my patient? Shirley, right? So let's try to log in as Shirley. I should be able to see the featured items. Let's take a look. So you see, this is saying check your internet connection, but okay, I have 2 blocks here, right? If I click on the growth option, I can take a look at the discussions, and if I go back to the learning option, I can see the discussions. Now interesting thing to note, I don't have access to the articles, right? Which means the articles column is not coming up for me. The articles tab that you saw just a while ago here, right? It's not coming up for me. Why is that so? There's some permission issue. And what could be the permission issue? The knowledge related objects. I might not have the permission as the community user. Let's go to profiles. Let's go to patient profile. And here, let's take a look at knowledge. So knowledge article record type is fine. This is the field level security. This is the tab access. This is the record type access. This is sharing of them. This is knowledge 1, not of our use. This is knowledge based permission. See, none of the permissions are given. So let me do these things. Let's go ahead and say edit. And let's go to the knowledge permissions. I'll say read, at least read, right? So I'll give them the read permission. And there was one more section wherein there was the field level permission, right? So we need to give the field level permission for the custom field that we created. So let's go ahead and search that. This right here is the custom field level security. Let's say view. Okay, I think all the access is available. What is this field? Article number. Cool. We have the access to all the fields, which is fine. Let's go back to profile. And now let's refresh. This was not the screen. This is the screen. Let's see. So you see the articles tab is coming up now, and under articles, there's no articles here. Why so? It says 2 articles, but maybe they have not mapped. Maybe they're not mapped. Let's take a look at the growth articles. I don't see the articles here. Why is that so? Let's take a look. So I might also have permissions related to articles also, right? So view archived, manage articles, these permissions are there. So I'll have to provide these permissions, and only then I can see them. I think I need to give this permission, share internal knowledge articles externally. Let's go ahead and try that out. So this is entirely a hit and trial. We'll figure out the problem and we'll try to fix it, right? So share internal knowledge articles externally, right? Because we are using an external system. That's a community cloud. And the articles that are created are internal because they have been created on the Salesforce org. Let's refresh. I still don't see the article, which is funny. Let's go to learning. Let's take a look at learning articles. No. Let's try to search it. Articles not visible to community user. So it says enable the read permission in the knowledge base, which we already did, right? So what could be the issue apart from this? We already provided the read permission. Let's reconfirm that. Knowledge. Yeah, we have provided the read permission, right? So this is already there. Okay, so this says user must have access to knowledge, which it has, must have access to the corresponding article type. Let's take a look at if we can provide that as well. So these are already published, right? So let's take a look at how we can share them, or if we can even share them. There are topics that might need assignment. So topic management. These are the 3 topics that are created, enabled for content. Let me just go ahead and enable all of them for content. Are currently available. Okay, let's refresh. Oops, I'm logged in as Shirley, so that's why it's taking me out. Let's refresh and let's log out and log back in. So I see 2 articles mentioned here, but no articles found is what comes up here. Let's log out, log back in. This is the patient profile, right? Let's take a look at the patient profile. There should be something that's missing out. Let's go ahead and provide this permission as well for articles. That's all I can see on the patient profile. Let's take a look at the knowledge settings, right? Maybe something's there. Data category assignments, we don't have any data categories, so which is fine. Knowledge settings, let's take a look at knowledge settings. Oh, I think we'll have to provide the permission to customer and partner. All right, let's try doing that. What else is there? Let's say save. Let's take a look at topics. Topics for objects is what we configured, right? So if I go to knowledge, so I've enabled the knowledge, which is fine. I think there's one more thing I need to check. So if I switch to classic and I go to knowledge object, I believe some customer and partner related checks come whenever you create an article. So if I open this article, let's see, if I open this article and if I edit it, so you see the channel section is here. I remember this because I created the articles in classic last time, so I'm not sure where do you find this, but you have to ensure that the channels are also enabled. So the customer channel is where you'll have to ensure that the article is available. So I'll just say save and close. Cool. So what was this article? Let's double check and confirm. Salesforce makes sense, always learn Salesforce from the best, right? Let's try to see if this is coming up now. Let's go to, I believe this particular article should show up because we have enabled the channel, right? Let's see, growth, articles, it's not here. Maybe in learning, articles, it's not coming up here also. Weird. Let's take a look at the permission again. Let me edit this article and let me enable the article record type is general, summary is fine. I'll say publish now. Okay, so now let's see if this comes up. What was this article? This was the what are the charges article, and the record type is general, and the topic, I'm not sure which topic was it. Let's see in the article section. It's not growth. What about learning? Yeah, it's coming up here. So I think we'll have to enable it for the public knowledge base, and just the customer won't do. So what are the charges is coming up here. Let's try to drill it down. Okay, let's click on edit. Let's remove the partner check and let's remove the public knowledge base. Let's say publish now, and okay, I think I did not publish the previous one, which is why it did not show up. I believe so. Let's see. Now let's refresh. It should still show up. Yeah, it's still coming up, right? So which means, yeah, it's still loading up and you are able to see. Cool. So this means you'll have to publish it, and you'll also have to ensure that the channel that is the channels wherein the knowledge article can be served is enabled. I don't know where is this channel set up in the Lightning experience, but on the classic you'll have to come back and you'll have to ensure that the community that you're using, be it the customer, I mean the kind of users you have, the customer user or the partner user, you'll have to enable it for them and then publish it again. Cool. The publishing status is online. So that was about how you can configure knowledge articles, enable them, add topics, and then show those topics to your end users on the communities. All right, let's take a look at what do I have next. All right, so some key pointers. So the first thing is a single user can access multiple communities through a single login. Right now, this can be an interesting thing to find out, because normally what we did right now was we used a contact record and we tried to log into experience, right? And it directly logged in us to the hospital portal. But what if you have multiple communities and your profile is a member of multiple communities? What happens then when you click on the login button? In that case, whenever you click on the login button, you get an option to, which community do you want to log into if you have multiple communities. So, but yes, the thing is, it is possible that one user can access multiple communities through a single login. Cool. The next thing is community licenses are cheaper than Salesforce licenses, and you'll understand why people go for communities. It's because they don't want all their users on Salesforce licenses. They are far more expensive than your community licenses. So it's better to just share some sort of data for some specific objects and get that done in a very cheaper price. So community licenses are far more cheaper than the Salesforce licenses. Cool. The third pointer is communities let you display data based on target audience, which we already took a look at, right? So based on your target audience, it could be profile based, user based, location based, or permission based. You can set a target audience, show them exactly what they want, and you can make your page, your components behave differently for different personas or profiles. Cool. And there's an acronym in Salesforce and that applies to Experience Cloud and communities also. WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Cool. So this acronym, if you see somewhere, you'll understand, what you see is what you get. All right. Now let's take a look at some primary differences, some names that people get confused with. They use them interchangeably, but these three things are three different things: community template, and a lightning bolt solution. All right. So I've just put this here for theory, nothing fancy here. It's not even an interview question, I believe, but good to know, right? So a community is the actual functional community that the customers and the partners access and use to interact with Salesforce data. All right. So what we are seeing right now, what we were using to take a look at was the actual community, right? What is a community template? A community template is an export of this functional community that is reusable. Remember how I showed you from the builder section that you can export your community, right? We had that option in the developer option, and we could export the template, right? We could either export a page, a theme, or a template. So when this functional community is exported, and that the zip that you get, or the file, that the folder that comes out of it, is called the community template. Cool. So community and community template are different in this way. And then the lightning bolt solution is a packaged version of the template which can be distributed and uploaded. Now you have a template that's exported, but can that be shared with different clients just like that? You cannot do that. You have to ensure that you package it, you distribute it, you manage it well, you take care of all the compliance and all the guidelines provided by Salesforce before you start distributing your solution, right? So once you do the bundling and the packaging and the layering on top of your community template, that then becomes a lightning bolt solution. All right. So I hope these three names or three terminologies are now clear, and they are absolutely clear that these three are three different things. All right. Cool. I believe the last topic, okay, there are two more topics. Cool. Yeah. So CMS Connect, this is again just for theory. We just took a look at CMS, right? Content management system. We set up some knowledge articles and we created some topics, right? But now it's important to understand that this CMS system is not just about setting articles or sharing some documents. It's kind of about how you can manage your content, how you can ensure there are restrictions, how you can privatize sensitive data, and how you can define contributors and share it with your users. So content management system helps you organize and create content, define the contributors of your content, and then it shares it with experienced users. The access to the content can be enhanced or restricted based on the requirement. All right. The first thing that you need to do is you need to set up a CMS workspace, which can be uniquely associated to one or more sites. This means the content defined under this workspace will be made available to the site selected. Now, for example, you have data coming in from, let's say you have 5 consent forms, or let's say 5 application forms that your candidate has to fill in before joining the company. So what you'll do is you'll create a portal for the candidates, right? And from that and with that portal, you'll associate a CMS workspace. In this workspace, you'll have all those 5 documents. Now, what will happen is when the candidate logs into the portal, they will see all the 5 documents that are there, and they will be able to download them, fill the consent form, and upload it again. Right? That's the basic idea behind CMS workspace getting tied up to one or more sites. Now, it might happen that your teachers or maybe your doctors, they also need to fill up some some consent forms or some primary documentation. So if the portal is being shared, that's fine, the workspace can be created for the site or the portal. But if you have multiple portals and they also need to share the common workspace, even that can be done, which is why a single CMS workspace can be associated to one or more sites. It's not a one-to-one mapping, one-to-many mapping. Cool. And once a workspace is configured, you can create and organize content under this workspace. Cool. So you can create the content and you can either keep it as draft or published, similar to how you do your knowledge articles, right? And here under the CMS content, you can either create a document, an image, or a news article as a CMS content. Want to take a look at how it looks like? Cool. Let me just quickly give you a very short brief. Okay. So if I go to setup and I go to sites, let's go to workspaces, and here we have something that's called content management, right? So here let's try to see content management, and here we have CMS Connect, right? So we took a look at collections and topics, right? So you can create a collection and you can do a topic, you can recommend articles to people. These things can be done here, but under content you have something that's called CMS Connect, right? And if you see, you can even connect to external contents also. So you can say add CMS connection. So you can do this by setting up the URL, which URL the data will come from, what's the kind of source, is it WordPress, is it SDL, is it Sitecore, or all of these things. You can do that. Okay, right? So basically, to be able to create a CMS workspace, what you need to do is, let me switch to Lightning first of all, and here let's go to the digital experience application. So there's one application that's called digital experiences, I believe. Let's take a look. Yeah, this right here. So this is manage content and media for all of your sites, right? So let's go to digital experiences, and here you'll notice, I'll just say don't show this again, close it. So here you'll notice that we have something, I believe we do not have the available items. I'll have to ensure that that's made available. Let's take a look at, let's go to profiles. I should have a permission related to workspaces. I currently don't see any items available, right? So I have to provide myself the permission. So if I go to system administrator, let's take a look at workspaces, CMS workspaces, the tab is hidden, right? So let me just go ahead and provide this tab options and make them available. So CMS, I'll just say default on. I think that should do it. Is there anything else? Yeah, I already have the create CMS and the experience app is already available. Cool. So let's go ahead and say save. And now that I save it, I should be able to see the CMS workspace tab. Cool. So let's take a look at CMS workspace tab. This right here, right? So what have we been told? We have been told that the CMS workspace can be created and it can be associated to one or more sites, right? So let's go ahead and create a new workspace, and I'll call it mandatory documents workspace for patients. Cool. I can just give this name. I'll say next. And now here, see, it's asking me which site do you want to add it to. So I can enable the hospital portal site. And if you notice, this is a multi-select, right? If you have more sites here, you can select it. Cool. I'll say next. And now here it asks me who would be the contributors. So I would not give any contributor. Let's see if I can give my name. I think I'm already the system admin, so I won't be part of it. So let's say if I want to give the security user the role of a contributor, I can just add it, and then I can give it a role as the content manager, right? There are other options that content admin has. They will have full access to the content setting up, and content manager will have full access to this particular workspace. Cool. Let's click on next, and here you have languages available. I'll just say it's English US, and this is the only default language available. I'll say next, and now this is your setting that you have set for CMS workspace, and I'll say done. So once your workspace is ready, it's kind of like your box is ready, and inside this box you can start adding content. Cool. So now you see, you can add folders, you can add content, you can move content, you can create content from here, and it can be a document, image, or news. Cool. So you can explore this part of the world also. There's nothing fancy here, pretty much similar to how you did knowledge articles. And I would encourage you guys to primarily look into Community Cloud Builder and the administrator and see where are the permissions, what permissions do you need to give, how do you modify things, how do you assign them to audiences, and all of it. Cool. So this will follow through, no worries in that. All right. So I hope this was also simple and clear. Let's take a look at what's next. So the final topic I have is sharing and security, right? So we understand that community cloud is basically a subset of data that resides in Salesforce, but still there should be some level of sharing and security there, right? We took a look at clickjack protection, right? That ensures that hackers stay away from communities and sites and our domains and do not hack or phish data out of it. But apart from that, how do you share your records? How do you not ensure your records are shared with the right kind of people on the communities? We have sharing and security features under that also. Cool. So on the very top level, you have something that's called OWD. If you're familiar with Salesforce, you should already know this. This is nothing but, yes, org-wide defaults. Right? And here, similar to how you have things for internal users, you have external users default access also. Let's take a look. So for every object, you have sharing settings, right? So if I go to sharing settings, so here you see all the objects, and for every object I have a default internal access and an external access, right? Ideally, it is a best practice to keep it private for all of them, and if you notice, it is private by default for all of your objects, right? Whichever say controlled by parent, they are in a parent-child relationship, which is why it says controlled by parent. Cool. So this is where you can configure your org-wide sharing setting. Let's say you want to provide account and contract access. Let's say we want to make it read-only for everyone, so we can just put read-only here. Cool, and save it. So the sharing settings will be recalculated and you'll get an email about it. So that's the first level of setting that comes up along with communities. The second thing is sharing sets. Now sharing sets are a counterpart of sharing rules. Sharing rules are made up to share records with public groups and roles, right? Internal roles. But what about, sharing records with community users? How do you do that? So to share records with community users, you have to use sharing sets. So if I take a look at my community, let's go back to my community. Let's go to sites. And here, if I go to workspaces, let's see, where do I have the sharing sets? So let's go to settings, and here in digital experiences I should see something that's called sharing set, right? So sharing sets are available here. Let's click on the new button. So apart from sharing rules, you have something that's called sharing set, right? And who is this sharing set available for? You need to define that here. We can give it a name, that's fine. You can, let's say we want to ensure that for patient profile and the hospital community users, right? These are the two profiles. What object do you want to search? Let's say we want to ensure the access of account object should be based out of a setting, right? So I'll just set it up here. So you see, object is account, the access is determined by none, and access level is none. But let's say we set it up. So we'll say that grant access where the currently logged in user, the account matches with the target account's owner's account. I mean, just some level of setting you have. Like for example, you are working for a hospital, right? So you would be associated with a hospital, which would be an account, right? So for example, Devesh is a clinical ophthalmologist, right? And he's under the hospital, Ohio University. Cool. So the user's parent account would be Ohio State University, correct? And now the record that is created, the patient would be enrolled with Ohio, right? Or he might be enrolled with Kentucky, right? Some other hospital. So it should be ensured that the person who's part of Ohio State University account gets the record or gets the patient's access whose target account is also Ohio, right? So that's where you are putting this check. And based on that combination, you are ensuring what should be the access level. This particular doctor should be able to read and write the records of that particular patient. Make sense? I know it's a bit tricky, but you have parent object relationship available here to set up. So how do you ensure that the object account is shared with the users? You say setup, and here you have an option to access the mapping for account. This is not opening up. Let's set up again. So it says grant access where the logged in users contact's account is equal to the target account's ID. This would make sense, right? So the example is, you have two clinical hospitals, right? One is Ohio and one is Kentucky. right? And now you, Devesh, the user that we created as a doctor, is part of Kentucky, right? So he should only be seeing patients who are part of the Kentucky hospital, right? Not from the Ohio hospital, correct? So you would ensure that the current user who's logged in, his contact dot account, which means the parent account associated to the current contact, is equal to the target account's ID, right? What would be the target account be? The target account will be the record that's currently in question. Is that from the Ohio State University or the Kentucky, whichever one we are considering here, right? And based on that, you would want to give them the access level, be it read only or read write. Those are the two options, because it is private by default, right? And once you say this and update it, anytime a person logs in, this sharing check would be taken into consideration, will be calculated, and only those records that fall under the criteria will be shared and shown to the user for which we have configured it. Which users? The users mentioned here. For what objects? This particular object that's selected here. Make sense? So on the base level, you have the OWD setting, wherein you can share objects private, public, read only, or public read write based on what you set on the OWD level. And then you can also filter out records by setting up sharing sets. Cool. So that was about the security of records. I think that's all, and it's been a good session, a good long session, but I hope I was able to help you explain Community's Experience Cloud, and I hope you did this exercise with me. You tried out things yourself, and if not, or if you did, amazing, that's great. And take a look at this video next time when you come in, and it will definitely bring in more information to you. This was lengthy, but I had to cover it in a time frame that suits you and suits this channel the best. But come back to this video one more time, and I'm sure that things will make more sense, and it would be easier to grasp things, because the second time you see it will be easier for sure, right? And apart from that, I also have Community Cloud assignments available. So if you'd like to take up any assignment, if you'd like to try things out yourself, something on the doctor-patient side, but with a better use case, definitely ping me, add a comment maybe. I'll share the assignment, and I'll completely ensure that you get the assignment, and it helps you. All right. And for Community Cloud, you have Experience Cloud consultant certifications that are available. So once you're confident, once you have done some POCs, and once you have done some good level of stuff on Community Cloud, you can always go for the Community Cloud consultant certification also, right? So that certification adds in value, because most of the health cloud projects that are there go hand in hand with the Community Cloud. So if you have a Community Cloud certification or an Experience Cloud certification to say, that would definitely add good point on your resume or your current career portfolio or whatever it is, right? So cool. So thank you so much for being with me, for being patient with me, and till then, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Keep learning.